This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 587 for the week of Sunday, September 22nd, 2019. My name is Zach.
And my name is Ed.
And my name is Steve.
And on today's show, we have a very special guest. He is from Japan. He writes for V-Jump, and he is also a writer on the official One Piece website. We have Greg Werner with us this week. How's it going, Greg?
Well, actually, I'm from New Jersey, but I live in Japan, so yeah.
Oh, okay. I see.
Zach just learned that right now.
I had no idea.
All this time, we thought you were just a very tall Japanese man.
A very tall, very white Japanese man. Greg, how's it going?
It's going well. Good to be with you guys. Excited to be on for a great episode.
Yeah, we booked this. I think we planned on doing this months ago, and somehow, you didn't just sneak tell Oda oh, I'm going to be on the podcast on September 22nd. Can you put up a kick-ass chapter that requires a lot of discussion?
Did he respond like a guy that owns a pizza shop? It's oh, for you, Greg, I'm making a good chapter.
He is from New Jersey.
The same crap in a can that I give everybody else.
We also have, where are we right now? On today's show, from Anime News Network, he's our anime recap host, Sam Leach. How's it going, Sam?
Yo, I am still kicking around, still doing my thing. I am not from Japan.
It's also good to know. I'm learning so much about everyone today.
It just reflects how we're feeling about the anime right now that we recorded right before we started this. It's
exactly.
Yeah, it's difficult.
We also have our artist, the official artist for our podcast. We have Maddie joining us. How's it going, Maddie?
Going pretty good.
And last but not least, this is the first of a few we're going to have here. We have our patron here, Robert. How's it going, Robert?
Good, Zach. How are you guys?
Good, and thank you for all of your support, and really nice to have you on, and you sound great, which makes me super happy.
Thanks. I love the show. I've been watching since or listening since pretty much the very beginning. So it's really cool to be on, especially for such a cool chapter.
Awesome.
I am so sorry. That's what I tell everyone.
Were you on Arlong Park forums back in the day?
A little bit. I didn't post very much.
That's good. Okay, not a bad move. Yeah, you want to tell us all about a little bit about your One Piece, history? How did you find One Piece? How did you find us somehow?
I actually caught up to the series right around the time you guys started your show, so I've been having that as a supplemental material as I've watched the series myself. So it's kind of always been a part of my fandom. You guys show.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice,
so it goes hand in hand for me.
Nice.
Cool.
And I know you also are a supporter of Maddie and of Steve's other shows that
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, all my interests have kind of come together here. So I love wrestling, I love video games, I love cute art. So this is great.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of cute wrestling art with some One Piece
It exists.
twinge. Yeah, I'm sure it does. Today's show, we have a lot going on. We have an anime recap. Sam, which episode is that for?
We did the anime recaps for episodes 902 and 903, dealing with the Yokozuna of Wano, Urashima.
Yeah,
He overstays his
stuff.
welcome. Spoiler alert.
What about episode 90210?
Oh my
We'll get there one day.
That is the one time you can make that joke until that 90210 episode comes out. We also have a manga recap for my favorite titled chapter ever, chapter 956, Big News. So we're going to be talking about that with everyone here. Before we get started, there are some happenings around One Piece Stampede. The biggest to me is that there was an ad in Times Square for One Piece Stampede, which I never, ever imagined would happen. Yeah. Funimation, I think, posted an image of that we retweeted a couple days ago.
Well, I was speaking with one of the Fuji TV representatives, and they said they're really going for a push for One Piece overseas in the
Nice.
I guess the next coming year. So, okay.
Well, it's been a good year for anime releases in theaters. Just this week, Promare got $1 million.
That's been crazy.
Yeah, it was something like it was third for Thursday night. Came in third for that night, and then I think it earned like $1 million this past
I need
week.
to see that.
Oh shit.
I mean, I think it's going to be in for
feature.
another week, so you definitely got time to check it out.
I can't do a double feature though.
No, probably not.
So Stampede, for those who don't know, comes out October 24th through the 31st in the United States and Canada. I think it was also just announced in several Middle Eastern countries, including
I think Kuwait and Qatar. I think.
Yeah. I know it is. I know One Piece is very popular there, not just because we have a lot of listeners in that part of the world, but I think the premiere of Gold was in Dubai, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe. And that there's just a very large One Piece contingent there, which is super cool. And I guess the news is that the listings are out right now, but you can't buy the tickets, even though some people, many of them here with us today, did buy the tickets. But
they were on sale briefly, and then I'm sure they'll be on sale again. But it doesn't seem like anybody can buy them right now.
Yeah, it's been kind of a all over the place rollout so far. I'm assuming stuff happening with the theaters specifically, and who knows. But hopefully we'll see those tickets on sale this week or next week or soon. So you can pick those up. There are some days that are dubbed, some that are subbed. Here. Japanese subtitles on the 24th, the 29th, and the 31st for Halloween. And the English dub on the 26th and the 30th. I did a poll because I was curious. How do people want to see it? 45% want to see it subbed. 15% want to see it dubbed. 13% want to see both. And 27%, I'm assuming, are overseas because otherwise they have no excuse not to see it. So that's that.
It was actually interesting that the with Premiere that came out this week, I noticed that the sub night did at least twice as good as the dub night. But I mean, also Thursday is better than Tuesday. Yeah, Thursday is better than Tuesday for I think for movie releases in general. But yeah, I was surprised that the sub release did better.
I think subs generally do better, surprisingly.
Well, I feel like subs are popular with nerds.
Yeah.
And dubs are popular with more like general population.
I think hoagies are probably the most popular.
Hoagies and grinders.
Well, what did you used to call it where you were in New Jersey? Subs, I'm assuming.
English speakies.
we were hoagies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess you were on that side of New Jersey. Anyway,
Yep.
so Cinescape and Vox Cinemas, by the way, are releasing it in Kuwait and the UAE, which comes out on October 10th. There's been no
Canada was also
confirmations
announced, right? Canada was.
I think Canada does the same releases as the U.S. Usually it's North American releases, so I'm not positive there. If you're Canadian, let me know.
I am.
Not all at once. Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
Robert,
we got Zed. It was great.
You didn't get gold?
Oh no, gold.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got gold. Except my showing was canceled because not enough tickets sold.
What?
Oh, that's so sad.
Where in Canada are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm in Vancouver.
Really? That's
I would
that's
think you would
shocking.
do well in Vancouver.
The hotbed for 90s English dubs.
Exactly.
No, it's the hotbed for 90s English dubs.
I was actually just watching. I was just watching some DBZ Ocean dub that I bought very cheap Pioneer DVDs for the first 2 seasons this weekend. Yeah,
well, congratulations.
Yeah. Please tell me there were some Ginyu Force episodes because like Ocean dub Ginyu Force, that is like mwah.
No, yeah, I got the last Ocean dub disc, the Pioneer disc was like disc 17 is the one where they try to cover up Gohan's neck getting broken.
There's one other, I guess, kind of interest piece is that Funimation also has, if you're a Snapchat fan, I don't know if you would be a fan of Snapchat. If you're a Snapchat user, there is a filter
there's
for
people
One Piece
younger
Stampede.
than us. So
What? No one's younger than me, Steve. No one.
Well, we did get to see Colleen Klinkenbeard do the Snapchat filter, so.
which is fun. Yeah, we posted that on our Twitter too. And there's also a Romance Dawn special coming out on October 20th, which seems to have just wrapped the voice work for. So that's also exciting.
Oh, that's what that was about. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting.
Wait, the what?
I think it's based on the second Romance Dawn release, right?
Well, one of them was the one that they did for the Jump anniversary anime, like back in 2006, 2007.
Right.
Like when they did the Dragon Ball Z Goku.
I think that was
Goku 2008. 2008. Yeah, it was before we started the show.
Yeah.
I think it's the one where Garp is a good guy. Or when I say good guy, I mean
whoa now.
He's always been a good guy.
A good grandfather.
A good grandpa, which he's definitely. Well, sometimes he is. Anyway, why don't we talk about the manga? Because I'm sure everyone just wants to hear that.
Yeah, probably.
This is the manga recap for chapter 956. Big news! You could read this chapter on Shonen Jump or Manga Plus at shonenjump.viz.com or mangaplus.shueisha.co.jp. They are free, it is legal, it is available worldwide at the same time it's released. Come on, guys, don't spoil it for everyone else. But Ed, what's going on the first page?
It's Gang Badges, Oh My Family, Volume 7. Hey, what's up, Lola? You finally snagged a hubby. So, coming up the stairs into Dressrosa, and it seems that Lola has been to Dressrosa as well.
Or these guys were with Lola at some point, and now we're here in Dressrosa.
Yeah.
Or this guy, not these. Well,
I mean,
this
I
guy's
imagine
got
Lola,
a very flamenco. He looks like a Dressrosa
like
native.
Oh, yeah,
you're
that's what I'm saying.
right.
Lola would have made an impression on the men of Dressrosa. They would remember
that's
her.
true. That's true.
I like that it could technically have been a long time ago, because how she looks there in his, I guess he's talking about Lola, obviously, but the description that he has, the mental image, is the original, like when she first appeared, Lola, how Oda drew her way back, and she changed quite a bit, actually.
Well, yeah, it makes sense, because she was coming from Whole Cake Island, and then she ended up on the other side of the Grand Line, so...
Yep.
Yeah.
So, where do you guys think this is going?
To Dressrosa.
So they'll be there for the next 10 years.
I mean, I'd love to see Lola again. Last place we saw her was in a cover page in Water 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when we find Lola, we find out the truth about Big Mom and Pudding and everything, and how she's been manipulated. So that will spark them coming to Elbaf and saving everybody.
Oh, I thought Greg was hinting like, we'll finally learn the truth. Where Lola says, "Oh yeah, Big Mom ate those kids." There's no metaphor there. No, she ate them.
What a weird thing to say to your sister for the first time you see her in forever. Yeah,
I'm sure
kids,
this,
Mom ate?
I'm sure this has come up already for this cover story. Has anyone mentioned that like this? It would be a good way to end this cover story might be like if we find Lola and it ends like with a wedding with whoever she's actually.
Yes.
Yeah. If she did it, indeed get married to one of Shanks's crew, right?
Oh yeah.
Lucky.
I guess that's true too.
Lucky Brew or somebody, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
what a great couple.
Rockstar.
Yes.
Come on, Rockstar. You want to be a part of the crew, right? You want to be a part of the crew.
Okay.
Gotta marry her.
I'm not a
how
big
much
shipper,
would we
guys.
flip if if Rockstar came back and he was married to Lola?
Oh,
Sam, I'm not a big shipper, but that I am completely on board that ship. I am the captain of that ship.
Lockstar.
I ship Lockstar.
Best man.
Yes, yeah. Okay, we're off to a strong start here. Anything else on this front page?
I
Ed.
just really love the question mark. That's all I want to say. It's so cute.
I do too.
Yeah.
Like his little hat and his little cigar.
Why is the Navy here?
What Navy?
I think they were still there on the ground,
bottom.
dead.
Oh yeah, those are Marines. I don't know.
I assume still, in the aftermath of what happened, they had like a contingent there because they kind of probably Fujitora, I think, felt super bad that all of that had to happen. As you may
actually, considering what we find out later on in the chapter, it makes sense that the Marines would still be in Dressrosa.
Right. Yeah. I think it makes sense. Yeah. Or maybe we'll find out why. It's another possibility there. Ed, what's going on the front page?
So in Ryugu Palace, Ryugu Kingdom, down on Fishman Island.
Do not expect to be going here, but although I just want to say
Reverie had important implications for Fishman Island.
Yeah, that's true. But Grant has been going through this, so it felt a lot more recent that like all this happened.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So Carp says, "Congratulations on finishing the trip," and Shirahoshi replies, "Thank you, Sir Luffy's grandfather." And they're making sort of small talk in Neptune. "Oh, you must be tired. You know, Garp, you should rest too." And but Garp can't stay long given the circumstances. He can stay long enough for tea, but no longer than that. The reverie always seems to result in chaos, and it's cool to see how Garp, being a large human, is still dwarfed by Neptune and Shirahoshi. He's very tiny compared to them. But he continues, "You've got 50 heads of state together in one place. You think they're going to get along?" And you see some of the ones that we were familiar with. I think that's Burger Ham Lincoln with his top hat there. And
yes, of course,
Oda does an accurate description of most world politics here. It says each of them has internal trouble on their plate, and the greater powers silently stare each other down while urging their smaller allies into fights, using resources and tools as leverage.
Oh my God.
This one guy looks like Hitler.
The world.
He's got a Hitler mustache and
a cameo from Hitler.
Yeah, and one of those guys is the Kano Kingdom guy. So, Kano Kingdom is a proxy.
Did the Hitler guy have a name? I'm trying to remember. I gotta look back at that chapter. Yeah,
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, Garp continues. As he takes his tea with a smile. He says, "Differences in wealth and religion will ensure that kings are never truly equals. When it comes time to join hands, they smile and grind each other's boots under the table. How many kings can actually speak equally for both their own people and others? A round table indeed." He's Garp's being sarcastic here. I don't think he has much faith in politics.
You don't say.
Neptune agrees. Yes, the discussion was fraught with tension. Roots grow deep in the history between countries. We're just another part of that. As long as no blood is spilled, I'm willing to call it peace, Garp says. But this meeting was a bad one. And he doesn't say what happened on this page. Go to the next page.
So on the next page, he goes into very slightly more detail and saying...
Not much.
No, not much. Now, this is a bit late in coming, but there's one thing that happened that, I forgot to tell you, but it slipped my mind. Following the close of the reverie, something happened just after we left. Not a big deal. Really need to tone it down. I got the report while on the ship. The Navy is using its full resources to solve the matter. So look, I beg of you, don't be fearful. The surface and the human beings, they're all cool. We're all cool here. But it involves Alabasta, and something makes Shirahoshi go, "Wait, what? Princess Vivi?" So let the theorizing begin there, because we never find out what that's about. And we go to Marijois, Pangea Castle, and it stands... Oh, Ed, you could do your thing. Your shtick.
Oh, sure. It stands 1 week after the conclusion of the reverie, and with the roar of the conference still hanging in the air. The heads of nations depart to travel back to their homes. Earlier in time, however, at the World Economic Journal.
Well, we'll get to that in a second, but first... We briefly see Burger Ham Lincoln there. The Russian
Isn't
guy...
Isn't that Six-Pack?
Yeah, wait, I have the page right
King
here.
Beer 6.
Yeah. King Beer the Sixth of the Rashwan Kingdom. And, well, we don't see his matroises. I have volume 90, for the record, is where you want to turn. Yeah, that's probably a better... And it's actually King Hamburger, but we call him Burger Ham Lincoln, which I think is more correct. And then whose back is that? Do we know who that is? It's definitely not King Taco from the Kingdom of the Dead, unfortunately. Anyway, and then as Ed mentioned, we go earlier in time after seeing these guys depart. I wonder if they're going to sell those miniature world government flags. And we go to the World Economic Journal, we'll presume headquarters, which looks like a giant tea kettle, I guess. And there are birds cawing over as we zoom inside to tapping at the I'm going to say typewriter. Is this the first confirmation we have typewriters in the One Piece world? I know that is a very minor question here, but that's what we're here for.
I don't think so.
I feel like we've probably seen it with Oh, brain. Iceberg's secretary?
I was
Oh,
gonna say, I think
Maybe?
there's-
cauliflower.
I don't know.
You probably
No.
No, like the
I
new
mean-
one in the cover story. I don't know for sure though.
Of
I
the
might just be
technology
making
they
stuff up.
have,
Yeah.
Maybe
of
it's
the
just
technology
something,
they have. Typewriter is not that strange.
or maybe it's just like a recent invention over the time skip. I mean, I think
Those
2 years
dials.
2 years prior,
Yeah,
they were
definitely.
killing for tappa tappa tappa. So
Greg, did you have a thought on that too? Sorry, there was a lot of thoughts on the typewriter apparently.
No, I think it might have shown up. I get the feeling that Sanji was sitting at a typewriter one time, but maybe that was just a pen and ink in a cover or something, not the actual story. But
Yeah, I'm trying to recall. It's technology is so all over the place in One Piece because the televisions exist kind of, but anyway, it's one thing after another. How could so many events be happening at once? The newsroom is buzzing here. It's like something out of a Spider-Man movie. I need the perfect headline for this, but which one gets the cover, boss? Greg?
and it's Morgan's. There's been a fatality. Big Orbit sell papers, that's a fact. But the vote results are fantabulous too. And an attempted murder? Thrilling stuff. So we've got Morgan's
this
doing his thing. And yeah, and he's talking about how he wants to sell it, how he wants to full coverage of this, and we get Attach, and Attach shows up, and we know that Attach is the former Marines photographer for taking bounty poster pictures, who was fired because he did a crappy job of it one too many times, left his lens cap on,
rehired, I guess,
and then he got rehired by the World Economic. And the last time we saw him was
Morgan's
at
is so
Starboard.
forgiving.
Yeah.
Greg, go
we
ahead,
saw
sorry.
we saw him at the start of the Reverie, and he was taking some pictures of Shirahoshi when Morgan's was quite taken with her. And it looks like there's been a telegram or actually a letter from the world government, and they've sent him a check with a dazzling number on it, and they want him to cover up one of these stories. What? They want me to sit on a story this big? Never. And Attach says to him, now, don't get too attached to your not fake news. and pulls off his face and reveals that he's actually Tom Cruise. And he says,
my God, your face came off.
You're going to do as we say, Morgans, and points a gun at him. And
I thought this was Virgo at first.
I was just going to say, it's these glasses, this like long face, and the pointing the gun immediately at somebody. Just at this point in One Piece, it's like, oh, okay, cipher pole. It just
I do want to say though, sorry, Greg, to interrupt, but the gag of pulling your face off will never be better than when Brooke did it in Whole Cake Island with the Luffy balloon. It's like, can't beat that. Anyway, go ahead, Greg. Sorry.
And there's some chaos, some shooting, some eeks and blams, and he's when did you infiltrate my payroll? And of all the things in this chapter, that's kind of what I want to know. I want to know if this was something recent, or was the real Attach ever here? I'm sorry, that's just me. I'm very interested in that.
Greg doesn't care about anything else that happens in this chapter. Just that.
To be completely honest, my column for the next One Piece, whatever it's called, Super Greg column thing, is all about that.
I love the new name of your column, Greg.
So Morgans knocks this guy's clock out, and don't mess with big news, Morgan. If you know what's good for you, I'm king of the news. And
and he loves to fight.
I'm king of the news.
I may be a money hungry Scrooge, but first and foremost, I'm a journalist. And I had to read this over. As the DJ of the printed page, I get people's hearts dancing. And it actually says DJ in the Japanese version. DJ.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
Morgan's Kong. DJ. Yeah. Morgan's Kong is here. Hey.
Yeah, that's not Steven being creative. That's actually he's the DJ. I'm the one who
that was
decides
a very
what
clever.
news is fit to print.
Yeah, so he steals the New York Times' slogan there. I love that turn of phrase. So I guess I don't know if I'm guessing it works the same way in Japanese. The get the people's hearts dancing as it does in English.
I forget what he says. What did he say? The DJ was. Let's see.
I'm just surprised that Zach questions whether or not typewriters should exist in One Piece, but disc jockeys with spinning
we know that those exist because those came up with Brooke, the tone dial.
Actually, I gotta. This is interesting. It's a shame we don't have Steven, because there was something he said here. He says the direct translation is like, from time to time, certain lies that I tell do get people dancing like a DJ. I'm a DJ who gets people dancing or excited with telling lies from time to time. So he does mention in there that he tells lies, or that he doesn't tell exactly the truth all the time. So that's kind of interesting. I'm not sure why Steven chose not to put that in there, but
the only thing I could pull from that. Yeah, go ahead.
I guess that's where he gets the "I'm the one who decides what news is fit to print."
Right.
But it's a little bit more flat out in the Japanese version. It's good you brought that up.
He's not above lying.
Yeah.
No.
He's maybe true neutral, maybe chaotic neutral. And he says, our location's too hot, people. No. Our location's too hot, people. We're moving the office. Yes, boss. And his teapot floats away, carried by birds. And, and he says he's got a message from King Wample. And sounds like he's got some leaked intel as Oda continues to softenize his former villains.
Leaked news!
Well, if you read the balloon, it says "We News." It's
the hottest new app from Nintendo.
World Economic.
Yeah,
I know, but it looks funny.
Yeah, that was a misstep in the history of the Nintendo Wii. No one wanted to play a game about working at a newspaper.
Even when the boss is a giant bird, I mean, I'd play that game, and only me.
Wave the Wii remote when you want to yell at the photographer for not getting a good enough shot.
Go ahead. Sorry, Ed. What did you say?
No. There was something else.
All right, Maddie.
All right. So, we're kind of just going around the world right now. Do we know where this is? These next two frames?
That first one looks like it would be the land of the dead. Like it looks like a Mexican.
Oh yeah,
setting.
okay.
Yeah.
And then the next one's probably wherever Hamburger is from.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
It's America, cowboy land.
Like if we're going by like It's a Small World logic, we got to like go off of key visuals here. So.
Oh my god, that's me.
Have we seen a location with like cactuses like that recently?
Yes. The only one I could think of is the one where Fisher Tiger was with Koala.
Yeah. Cool Shout.
Oh, that's
Cool Shout Island.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, anyway, we have all these newspapers dropping, talking about the incident the government sought to hush up. News of the king's vote and resulting incidents spread instantly throughout the world to the shock of many. And then we go to Kamabaka Queendom. We hear, what does this even mean? That can't be true. You're kidding, Sabo. That's the WEG. What does that mean?
World Economic Journal.
Oh, okay. There we go. Thank you.
Yep.
That bird's lying through his beak. And we go to Ivankov, and this is Sabo we're talking about. It's impossible. I won't believe a word of it. And we have no idea what they're talking about, but we go to Dragon, who's like, our first step is to ascertain the truth. And
that's a great Dragon impression.
And Betty, right? And
yeah.
Just going Sabo. And then we go to Koala, who's also going, Sabo, please don't be true. And then they're saying, we've lost contact with all of them. How do we confirm any of this? So the revolutionaries are just all freaking out because something happened to Sabo. We don't know what, but... And then we head to the Goa Kingdom and the royal escort ship. And we have Stelly going, what? He was in Marijoa? My brother? And then we skip somewhere else. Now we're off to Windmill Village in the Goa Kingdom. And Makino is at the table upset. And someone's going, what's up with Makino? And her little baby's on the floor being a baby. And Makino's just like, oh, Sabo. And people are just worried, like, oh, she closed the bar today. And what's happening with all the news in the world? And people are like, oh, no, we can't even drink with all this going on.
Oh, Makino is so sad. That's awful. Hey, can I get a beer? I'm curious. Maybe this is me overanalyzing too much. Any significance to Makino's baby saying "dada"?
Yes. So we confirmed this on Twitter that this means that the ball is the dad. So there you go. Yeah,
wait, but okay. Wait, though. What's the lifesaver on the wall? Has the same pattern as the ball.
Oh my God.
No, but what color is the ball's hair?
Could Barry Good be his father?
Nice.
He's mistaken it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think this was not on a podcast, so I feel the need to mention. It was an episode I wasn't on, but I think Zach couldn't remember the name of the Navy soldier or captain that rested up.
It was a trivia segment, I think.
Yeah, Zoro sword.
Shooter.
Yeah, it was. What was his name again?
Shu.
Shu, not Shooter. Shu.
And it's not. It wasn't Kitetsu. It was
Ubashiri.
Ubashiri. But anyway, Zach couldn't remember, and I think he thought it might have been Barry Good. I just remember. I don't remember the context. I just remember just an alternate reality I thought of where Barry Good was fighting Zoro, and he touched his sword. And he's like, "Oops, all berries." I'm Captain Berrygood. You're under arrest.
Steve, were you just waiting for any opportunity to bring that up?
Yeah. And then here's another new headcanon where at Thrower Bark, where Zoro is laying his sword to rest. Instead, he shows up with his shirt. And he's holding all the little berry pieces of his sword in his shirt. And he's like,
does he start eating them?
He's like, "Don't mind me, Brooke. You're paying respect to all your fallen crew. I'm just gonna dump these sword berries into the ground here with them." And I'll say a little prayer for you.
Sam, can you please continue with this very serious scene that we described?
Yeah, we turn the page, and I try to follow that up.
What if he ate them? Would they be Swordberry Crunch?
Yeah, but they cut the roof of your mouth just like all Captain Crunch.
Okay, go.
All right. We're still in Goa Kingdom. We're on Mount Corvo. And we hear some voices shouting, "We only just found out he was alive!" And it's Dodon and her crew crying, "Sabo, say it ain't so!" And we transition to undersea prison, Impel Down. And we if this was the anime, we would hear the very familiar Doflamingo laugh. And he's reading the newspaper. He's chained up, hands, feet. He's saying, "Oh, the world never gets old, does it? Things are just getting good now. Ha ha ha." And then we transition.
What's important is he got his wish. He got his subscription.
Yeah.
That Marmaduke.
We transition now to a familiar island. We saw it recently. Pirate Island full of lead. And we hear now this is the much more distinct laugh. "Pack your bags onto the ship. If the Navy's only going to take it, I might as well claim the prize." And it's just Blackbeard looking the same as always. He's kind of looking off to the side. I don't know if he's looking at anyone in particular. Just anyone but the reader. We transition once again, and it's on a stretch of open sea. And we hear the voice on the phone saying, "It's me, Kobe." But then he says, "Oh, wait, hold on. I got to find a quiet spot." And then he says, so Kobe is the one we're hearing on the...
No. You can see the first bubble. That is the first bubble is the snail saying, "It's me,
Kobe.
It's me, comma, Kobe.
It's me calling you on this snail right now."
I am
to be
calling
fair, that
you...
is slightly confusing, yeah.
You're supposed you're supposed to use
person.
the bubbles. Yeah.
And
Lots of different bubbles on this page.
Kobe is finding a quiet spot and is whispering the code word "C," and he hears back "mist." And then they have a bit of a conversation. We transition ahead. Drake is saying, "Really, all that?" Or a certain person is saying,
"You ruined it, Sam. Get him out of here." No one reads the chapter
until... this as we've been going along. God damn.
You know no one reads the chapter before they start listening to us. Get out of here, Sam. Finish up.
And Kobe is saying, yes, we can't keep up with it all, even with all the sailors in the world. And he's saying, so as far as your situation goes, the military won't be acting on it just as we planned. I mean, we don't have the manpower. And then we cut to where the other person is talking from, outside of Ebisu, Wano. The land of Wano isn't a member of the world government, after all. That's for the best then. But since Big Mom showed up on Onigashima, and Kobe butts in, yeah, the Navy's hoping they'll knock each other out. Figures. There's just one problem. You know how Kaido and Big Mom were at each other's throats the other day? ...
So does this imply that Drake is the one who told the Emperor where... Well, if he's in Ebisu. What's he doing in Ebisu? Anyway. Food for thought.
Did anyone think those were girls' legs?
Those are the sexiest legs.
Yeah.
That's Kobe, isn't it? Is it Kobe or Drake?
That's Drake. Drake has some
boots.
hot, sexy boots.
Actually, I do remember him wearing like big thigh-high boots.
Yep. And they're like leather or pleather.
Yeah, he's a leather daddy. We all know that.
He's hardcore.
Reptile boots.
Self-skin boots.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, moving on to the next page. So we get a cut to the mystery man in the sexy boots. And we get a close-up, and it is Navy HQ top secret special force captain of sword Diaz Drake. And he says, now they're teaming up. And the other end of the line says, huh? What? What does that mean? And this transponder snail is horrified. And then we get to zoom out on the room that he's in, and this place is all busted up. Like, this is just, it looks like there's been a battle here or something. And he says, as for Straw Hat Luffy, the situation's stagnant. No news of a breakout. And there's one more foreboding bit of news. In the capital the other day, I saw CP0. What? Why are they in Wano? I don't like the implications. And then we get an Oda box that says, Navy HQ Rear Admiral and member of Sword, Kobe. So he got promoted again. And what has it been, like 2 weeks?
Well, who knows?
He's on the fast track. He's Garp's
moving on up.
Yeah, he's an up and comer.
I have a feeling that Helmeppo is not a member of Sword, so he gets missed out. It's like, oh, who are you talking to? It's like, no, Garp.
Helmeppo's in Dagger. And then we hear on the line, it would mean that the government's coming to pirate-led Wano to conduct deals of some kind. My mind went blank for minutes after I saw it. Where are you now? And Kobe goes, I'm on my way to the Island of Women to capture the pirate empress Boa Hancock, which is kind of a humble brag there. But all over the world, we go to a mystery country. Do we know where this is?
No, but they kind of look like, I don't know.
There's a pagoda there, and that's all I got.
Is it the Russian?
They've got feathers. They've all got feathers.
Maybe it's Beard the Sixth country.
Yeah, it could be.
I get a feeling that Helmeppo is probably a member of SPORK.
Helmeppo, captain of SPORK.
But that's a good one. But this, this nation, I can't say, but I don't know. They have feathers though, and they seem to be happy. So who needs pirates when we have feathers?
Yeah, so these guys are all amped. They're all just cheering. They should have done this a long time ago. It was wrong to have worked in pirates in the first place. This guy, who looks like he's just wasted. Those government lapdogs are going bye-bye. Stupid pirate empress, Hawkeyes, clown.
Wait a second.
Clown?
Hold on. Is that the guy who's pissing off the pier?
That's what I was going to ask.
At Mocktown?
I think he is.
Not quite.
Similar.
More importantly, we know...
It's funny, it hit me the same way. But I don't think it is.
We know he's not in Goa Kingdom because you can't get drunk if you're in Windmill Village because Makino closed the damn bar. Go ahead, sorry.
Okay. And then we get a note box. There was one news story that stunned all who heard it most of all. And this guy, this king-looking dude, are they sure about this? That was one of the 3 great powers of the world.
Well, he's scared because he might be overthrown. I'm assuming. Steve.
And what was that news story, you might ask? Well, come to the next page and I'll tell you. It's don't ever write an essay like Steve. That. Don't ever write a school paper like that. The dissolution of the 7 warlord system. The 7 warlords have disbanded! And yeah, we see a bunch of schmuck pirates. They're just like, Yahoo! It's like, enough of these pillagers acting like hot shots. Someone's like, well, but they did do a whole lot in the Paramount War. I mean, come on. Some guy's like, they're gonna get arrested.
The deep state's going down.
Though, man, this could be Mocktown. Palm trees.
Oh yeah, it does look like Mocktown.
Yeah.
And would it be the first time we return there?
Bunch of people mocking other pirates.
That's true. Yeah,
it's all the descriptions there. It would be cool to see I don't know if we've seen Mocktown at all in like an around the world post time skip.
Not since Bellamy died.
Yeah,
to be fair, the place and time we were first really introduced to most of the warlords was in and around Mocktown and Jaya. Yeah. So that would be cool.
That would be fitting.
Yeah.
But we get a little more info here. It's after an impassioned argument from 2 kings whose nations had suffered because of the 7 warlords. The matter was put to a majority vote and passed. And of course, those 2 nations being Alabasta and Dressrosa, and we have Cobra.
Why isn't Wapple up there? Shouldn't he be like, hey, one of the former warlords fucked up my country too? Oh, well, I guess I did a pretty good job of it myself, but
that was before. Doesn't count.
Also, no one cares about you, Wapple.
Doesn't count if you run away.
Yeah, to be fair.
But of course, it's King Cobra and King Riku. And it's funny how it's described as an impassioned argument. And crossing your arms is a very passive, or I don't know, it could be a very...
No, it's like a passive aggressive.
Yeah, it looks like Cobra's the one who's talking.
He's like, tell him, Cobra.
Yeah,
it's like this is bullshit. And it's like, and meanwhile, at the Empty Bluffs Island in the New World, and we're getting the end of another piece of exposition of the same thing. This time from Vice Admiral Stainless, I believe. I think he's a Vice Admiral.
Yep.
And therefore, all of your privileges of the 7 warlords have just been revoked. Like, he's pulling the Danny Glover here. And he says, you no longer have any ties to the world government. That means you're just a pirate again, Buggy. And we get a nice close-up of the former, I forget what was...
Did you mention Buggy? Where we are here, by the way?
Empty Bluffs.
Yeah. How much I love the name of that island. Thank you, Steven. I'm just saying.
That's Usopp's island. What's he doing there?
Go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
Well, Buggy's like the evolved form of Usopp, where it's just...
That's true. He deserves it too.
He's like Usopp going down a dark path,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's like Usopp, you could lie, but if you're mean about it, your nose will not get longer. It'll just start to turn into like a shape of a red ball, and you'll be a clown. But now it's Buggy's delivery chairman, former warlord, back to just being old plain Buggy the Clown, and he says, "Now this is some grade A bull pocky." It's a family show. It's like this is a family crew here. It's like, first you suddenly declare me one of them, even though that was like 2 years ago. And then you say
I was going to say, yeah.
You want to arrest me? It's like, there's no honor in the law to you. And we get all the other Buggy crew pirates that we know, all smushed into this one panel here. And I believe it's some of them. They're saying, Chairman Buggy, they got us all surrounded. But Buggy's still, I think, yeah. Buggy's still going on his shoot here. He says and just because he let Crocodile and Doflamingo fool around in some cheeky shenanigans under your noses, and you're gonna take it out on the rest of us. My life's just plain ruined. And then we have all the other pirates under Buggy's command, like old Pac-Man pirate right here. Says, "Oh, what do we do, Chairman? Run away?" And he's like, "What?" It's like, "We're gonna fight like hell. That's what we'll do. Yeah." And oh no, sorry. This is probably everyone else saying, "Yeah, that's our Chairman, Buggy." He says,
Former
"Now
prisoners." Yeah, I'm assuming.
He's like, "Now go out there and make it." It's like, and show them what we're made of. And just so you know, they're all pirates. They go, "Yar," which means it's like, "We be pirates." And he says, "In the meantime, I'm gonna skedaddle." So
he hasn't changed.
No, he has. No, he just got
Buggy.
a big bed sheet. That's all he's gotten.
And then we move on to the next scene in this montage of the Navy approaching the various warlords, the ruins of Muggy Kingdom, Gloom Island, and the Navy is saying, "Surrender yourself at once, Hawkeye's Mihawk." And you've got Mihawk sitting on his throne. Can't really tell if he's like inside of I don't remember what his little ship looked like, if that's the same chair or not.
It's just shaped like a coffin.
Well, we can't tell if he's in a coffin ship or not, but
right.
But he's responding. He's saying, "Oh, I feel the thrill of excitement. It's been so long since I was the one being chased." Ha ha! And he's got the new or the fancy European Gothic dome sound effect just for him. And his title card thing says, "Former Warlord, Hawkeye's Dracula Mihawk." And I think that the former Warlord description fits him the weirdest. I feel like we got to come up with a new big title for him soon.
He's just a cool pirate.
Then we move on.
He's Hawkeye's freaking Mihawk.
Just a cool pirate. That's his new title.
He could be the Sixth Emperor if he tried.
Yeah.
So we move on to the next island, an island on an island in the New World, and it's just some island. This isn't Whitebeard's island, is it?
Someone mentioned the similarities between this and the one that we saw. I forgot who. I apologize.
Is that thing on fire behind them, or does it just look like that?
No, it's on fire.
Yeah, I think it's
the whole town's on fire
or something.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
But someone mentioned that it looks like where Cat Viper last was. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's Weevil and Buckin, and Weevil is saying, "Mama, what do we do? Why are the guys on our side surrounding us?" And you've got just an army of Marines forming a perfect circle with the riot shields. And Buckin is saying, "Because it seems they're not on our side anymore." "Well, that's their mistake. Get them all, Weevil." And Weevil's like, "I can't."
Bobbity.
"I can? Then I'll kill them all. I'll kill them in the name of Whitebeard." He says white beer here.
He knows his dad's name. We said Weevil was going to come back this week, so here he is. Sam, go ahead.
A former warlord, self-styled Whitebeard Jr., Edward Weevil. And then we at last come to the island of women, Amazon Lily. "We've got a situation, Snake Princess. The rights of the 7 warlords have been stripped away. There are Navy ships out at sea." And Hancock's chilling in her seat, not looking too worried. She says, "Don't panic. You seem to have forgotten something. The reason they chose us to be the 7 warlords was for our beauty." Strength.
Sorry. I misread that.
And then former warlord, pirate empress Bella Hancock.
Yep.
To be continued.
To be continued. So let's all talk about Edward Weevil. No, that's
I was
the end
right.
of the chapter. Yeah, Ed, you got that on the nose.
All the warlords showed up, but that was the only one I predicted.
And therefore you were correct. So there's a lot to talk about. First, I just want to kind of get your opinions on what you thought of this chapter. Greg, would you be willing to start us out on that adventure?
Okay. First, so little side story, anecdote time. This is one of the few times in the year that I can actually get an opportunity to read this chapter before Stephen and before many people, because I actually read this at Oda's house not long after he finished penning it. He had his takoyaki party, and he usually invites guests down to his office to see the place, the studio, see what it's like, and he always lays the chapter out there for anybody who like wants to read it or see it, and he has like the rough sketches and everything. It's all there, and it's amazing. And being able to see that there was just, like, wow, this is really cool. This is kind of happening kind of moment thing. And
it was this chapter too, right?
It was this chapter. Yep. Yeah. So, the hype machine was at its, operating at peak. But if I'm being completely honest, I don't think the chapter lives up to the title. The title had me all sorts of hype. But I mean, the big reveal in the chapter is, to me, the biggest reveal, or what Oda, I think, wants to be the biggest reveal, is the dissolution of the Seven Warlord system.
People are much more worried about Sabo and Vivi. Like, that's the big news, that we don't actually find out what it is.
So, yeah, there's that going on. The big news for the world is the dissolution. We knew that was going to happen. But we'll get back to that. You have the reveal of Drake, which is fantastic. Changes up my Drake life plan a little bit. It just changes his alignment from, I think it was chaotic good to like chaotic neutral. Everything else should still fit, with the Drake being like, he admired Marines, he admired his parents, maybe both of them were Marines. His mom gets killed by the Hunter Beast pirates. I think that's what they're called, right? And his father is emotionally distraught because of that. He becomes a terrible person. He abuses his son, and but Drake is still strong. He continues to go to the Marines. I thought that after he gained a very particular set of skills that he needed for the Marines, he would have left them and then gone off to find revenge on his own. Maybe because he found out he couldn't find justice for Kaido through the Marines. But no, it turns out that he isn't still indeed with the Marines, so that's cool. Kobe being involved with that is also awesome. Long term, what this means for Drake is instead of living his life out as a pirate, I think it just means that eventually he'll be an admiral somewhere down the line. The other big reveal are, as Ed mentioned, those kind of ambiguous pieces of news about what Morgans mentions. He mentions the three big ones: fatality, attempted murder, and also the results.
So Morgans has chosen to report that Sabo is dead. That's what we're getting. That's what he says.
I'm assuming that's what's being implied, but it's not explicit in the chapter.
Yeah. I'm wondering if the death is Cobra.
Maybe. Yeah.
What if Cobra was murdered, and what if they tried to frame Sabo for it? I mean, that's one thing. I think that another thing that's interesting related to this is what Blackbeard says is pack your bags onto the ship. If the Navy's only going to take it, I might as well claim the prize.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, the flame fruit.
Saying it here is a little bit. We assume it's the flame fruit, but it could be a him. The Japanese is kind of ambiguous there. It could be it could be a him. We're not entirely sure what it is.
I was wondering if it was like the Mary Joa treasure that Doflamingo knows about.
Yeah.
If something came to light about that.
Oda is messing with us so much here by leaving out little pieces of information, little pieces of important information.
And it would also make sense that the government would want to cover that up specifically and go to the extent that they put a Cypher Pole agent in, that he would reveal his cover to stop Morgans is also kind of interesting.
Right.
That it had to be that big, I'd assume.
But let's look at so that's the information we have in the chapter. Let's look at the reality of the situation. Sabo cannot be dead. That cannot happen. That will not happen. Do they have Sabo? Maybe. Has he been framed for it, and is he on the run? Maybe. I think personally they have him. Does this mean a rescue arc? I don't know if that means a rescue arc.
There's a lot of Wano left.
Yeah. Oh my God. And like people are like, oh, well, you know, even I'm hyped about what happens when Luffy finds out about this. If anything happened to Sabo, but like, there's plenty of material to get through before any information gets in there. It's a reason. There's a reason that they're cut off from the world.
And part of the problem is we don't know what this is. You know, like what is Luffy going to be reacting to? Is Sabo supposedly dead, even though we know he's not? Even though we imply he's not, because look, we know one rule in One Piece: no major characters getting killed off screen. That's not off page.
Do we think there really is a fatality, or is that being misreported?
That's a good question.
That's another thing. I personally think that there is a fatality, and I think that relates to what Garp is going to tell Shirahoshi and Neptune, because. The last thing she says is Princess Vivi, and I think because of Im holding that picture of Vivi, or he was near a picture of Vivi, something like that, we're being led to think that it's about her, but I have a feeling that it's her father.
Princess Vivi's father is who was killed, and that's how Shirahoshi relates. Yeah.
Was she the one that had like the knife in the picture?
Yeah.
It showed I think it was.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So Im has some interest in it. I don't know if I mentioned this previously on the podcast or not, but I think
Vivi was the only one who wasn't cut. She was the only one whose picture wasn't cut up.
She wasn't cut, or she had a knife in it, or something like that.
Shirahoshi had the knife in it. Vivi was like a perfectly clean picture.
Vivi was a perfectly clean picture. Okay, all right, thank you. So yeah, I think that in the past, maybe even the ancient past, Im was probably infatuated with Vivi's ancestors, like a female ancestor, and she probably resembles exactly that individual, because her mom, she looks exactly like her mom too. Mm-hmm. So I think that Vivi's okay.
You were right about Shirahoshi. Yeah. Go ahead.
And the last thing I just want to touch on is the Seven Warlords and what should happen to them, or what will happen to them. So this is a callback to Fujitora wanting to, first of all, dissolve the system, and then mentioning that there's a means to doing it by something that Vegapunk has come up with. If they are using whatever that is, that system, that person, that thing, that object, that weapon, in taking down the Shichibukai, they need to take down some of them in order to show that, hey, this is an actual thing that works. And on the flip side, they need to also let some of them get away, because some of these characters should still be threatening to Luffy and the crew. And I think to that end, if they need to capture any of the warlords, they need to capture Boa and Mihawk to show that they have this kind of strength now. The ones that should be able to get free, I think, are Weevil and Buggy. Buggy just for plot reasons. He's a great wild card to have out there. And Weevil just because Weevil should be badass at this point. Whereas taking down someone like Mihawk and Boa would show us that, holy jeez, the Marines really do have something up their sleeve this time. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Was the on the Vegapunk thing? Because I'm just trying to remember. It was the conversation between Fujitora and Ryukyu.
Yep.
I read that conversation as like whatever Vegapunk is cooking up is a potential replacement for the Seven Warlords, like a swap in, because they need the three powers.
Right. And if they have that power, then they should be using it to take down the warlords. If they're not, then what's the point of getting rid of the warlords, eh?
Right, yeah, they're taking away their protection. They're protected from the government currently, not anymore.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm looking through Volume 90, since a lot of this is kind of, call and response to that. Fujitora specifically saying there's no longer any need for the Seven Warlords of the Sea. Ryukyu calling him crazy. Be that as, yeah, and the rest is just about him not eating for 3 years. The part that is interesting in Volume 90 is the whole Five Elder Stars talking with Emu about the first, the world's equilibrium cannot be maintained forever, and the time has come for a great cleansing. That super ominous message at the very end of our Reverie story originally.
Right. That's not the only conversation anyone has with the five elders in the Reverie. So.
Yeah, but then also saying that, have you decided upon another light to be erased from history? And as to whether either of those statements have anything to do with any of this quote unquote big news that is discussed in this chapter.
Who knows?
I don't know. I don't.
There's so much misdirection here that it's hard to say that it could be one thing or the other. Like I said, the thing I'm most interested in is where the real attach is.
You see, maybe the type of bird that Big News Morgan's is a red herring, right? No, wait, that's a fish. Whatever. Anyway, Robert, what did you think of this chapter?
I really enjoyed it. I thought a lot of this chapter was smoke and mirrors, but I still really liked it regardless. I'm really enjoying the Capone cover story. That's awesome. He's so much fun. It was great seeing Ryugu Palace again. That's still one of the greatest buildings in the series. It just looks phenomenal. Mm-hmm. The World Economic Times, that ship is just hilarious. It's a teapot being propelled by seagulls and some kind of blimp. And yet it's also got like paddle wheels on the side, so I assume it can go in water. Mm. Yeah, but I really like where everything's going. I love these chapters where we get to see everyone just kind of within like pages of each other. That panel with the unmasking attach was horrifying. And I wonder if that's a devil fruit or just like some comedic mask.
It looks like a scene. I don't know if anyone's seen the anime movie Metropolis. There's a scene at the end where the guy tears his face off. And it looks a lot like that, actually.
Yeah,
I think Oda likes that effect. I think that's part of it because that's definitely the same exact thing that he did with Brooke and the balloon.
Yeah, it's very Scooby-Doo.
It's very Scooby-Doo.
I was going to say the thing. So I think the panel you're looking at where you said that the ship is propelled by the seagulls. I think they actually, when they send out the seagulls, they go out the spout.
Oh,
that's what it looks like to me. Yeah, they're like, they go,
that's what I
like
thought.
all the birds fly out.
Just tip them over and just let them fly out. The song goes.
God, it must really stink on that ship. That's all I have to say.
All the ships stink. Zach, Zoro, it's like a stink cloud.
Yeah, but have you ever... Okay, so when I took a trip up the coast of California, there's just like a million pelicans everywhere, and it just smells like pelican shit, wherever you go. It's just a really bad
But Zach,
smell.
these are seagulls.
Okay, Maddie, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to put into words because there's just so much happening. Just Big News Morgan's just punching out the guy. I think that was my favorite part because he's just like,
that's the right answer.
He's just so cool, and like I just always hear his voice as like a 1930s like radio man, and a lot of it is like, okay, stuff's happening and we don't really know what, so it's kind of confusing, but where some stuff's gonna happen and it's exciting, and I'm excited for the warlords to be off pirating, so I think there's a lot to look forward to.
Maddie, you know who knows what's happening right now? The people listening to this episode 10 years from now. Yeah, those damn people. Anyway, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, great chapter. I doubt anyone's gonna disagree with that. I think my favorite aspect of the chapter is the Drake reveal. Well, and the Kobe reveal. Those are two really interesting ones. That Kobe's a rear admiral now, but the Drake, like, it just so clearly evokes Corazon to me. Like in Dressrosa, we have this flashback of this kind of Navy pirate double agent, and like that story ended in tragedy. So now we have kind of a chance for a similar story to end more positively. But I think of that really it impacts the dynamic that him and Law might have, since they kind of like crossed paths sort of at one point, and they're kind of coming from similar places, even if Drake decided to go the legal route and Law prefers being a pirate. But I think there's a lot of really interesting story to go to develop with that, and seeing Kobe get promoted so quickly, it makes me think that we're getting ready for him to like become like a really powerful force in the One Piece world, like soon rather than later.
Yeah.
I feel like Kobe's promotions are like a really good barometer to how close we are to the end. Like as he approaches his final ranking. Point.
Like he will be an admiral soon.
Yeah.
We're getting ready for him to be like the fleet admiral in like the epilogue of the series or something.
Yeah.
The Warlord in his title now. I mean, that's pretty huge, even if it's at the back.
Yeah, and it definitely makes you think that like whatever happened a week ago at the end of the Reverie, it must have been like a big deal that Kobe, like, you know, he stepped up to the plate, and they're like, oh, okay, you're dependable. We're promoting you so that we can
that's too.
He doesn't have to hang around with Helmeppo anymore.
Because he was, what was he, a captain before?
Yeah, he was captain.
Because between that, you're also Commodore.
Yeah.
And then Rear Admiral, I think, is after.
So he's like one spot below Garp now.
Well, Garp's retired. Yeah.
Garp could have been an admiral in his day. He's like a special inspector or whatever.
He's like an envoy.
That title is.
Yeah. He's like what's his face, the envoy for whatever. Any other thoughts?
Yeah. He's every
right now,
Japanese male over 60.
That's fair.
Yeah, my presumption right now is that the fatality that everyone's sort of talking to and alluding to in this chapter is I don't think Sabo's dead, but I think that is what they're talking about. I think that Morgan is putting Sabo's death in the paper. And the Warlords thing, like it was an inevitability, but it's still kind of a really exciting development. Like when I was catching up with the series for the first time, one of my favorite things, along with like keeping track of like bounties and stuff, was the Warlords thing, because there's this. It's the way that like the political world, like one thing moves and everything else has to kind of move with it. I always thought that the Warlords were such an interesting kind of example of that, and how they were like this like rotating glass door of people. But it makes sense that they're being dissolved now, both just like as like a really dramatic, exciting turn of events, but also because like the Emperors are more or less playing the role that Warlords used to play in the series now. So that makes sense. It's a little disappointing that like Buggy and Weevil, like them being Warlords, has not amounted to a whole lot so far. Well, I mean, maybe that could be.
I think this also goes to show that the Emperors are now where the action is. There was an equilibrium in the New World, and that seemed to have, like, it was unprecedented when before Marineford, Shanks and Whitebeard had a confrontation, right? That was unprecedented. Now, like, there's more than 4 emperors, and they're fighting each other, and now Kaido and Big Mom are joining forces together. So, like, 7 warlords aren't balancing shit anymore. They can't balance fuck.
And even, to take it one step above that, as readers, the 7 warlords don't really mean as much anymore. I mean, for everything that Ed just said, the 4 emperors, that's where it's at right now. Those are the people we're actually on the same level as, or still above us. Whereas the 7 warlords, been there, done that kind of.
But thankfully, the warlords still get to come off looking a little bit cool with Hancock and Mihawk here. Where
they're
being stripped of the title, but they're like, oh yeah, we're not out. We're still badasses over here.
It gives Oda a chance to put the reset button on these characters that still have a lot of potential.
Yeah. What else was I going to say?
And this also happened to the real life, I think, privateers. Correct me if I'm wrong. That system at some point was dissolved, but it was also, it's a stupid idea if you think about it at all. But
it was.
If you look at the Wikipedia, actually, the real history is that from the privateers, they went on to be the Mouseketeers. So that was how that began.
True. That's true. Thank you. That's why we have Greg here.
I think our finger is still on the pulse as to whether or not we'll see like Navy or government involvement in Wano by the end of the Wano arc. But like the fact that they're making it clear that like whatever the world events are so crazy outside of Wano right now that like they can't send guys over to Wano. Like they're not even like considering the possibility. And yet we know that this crazy world-changing war is about to happen in Wano. That is probably gonna. I have more to say about outside that, world's mind. Like, oh my God, we're dealing with all this, and now like an even bigger thing was happening under our noses this whole time.
So about the wrap up for Wano, the question is, do we want to make this like a Whole Cake Island thing where everybody has to get out immediately after the arc is done, or is there going to be a cooldown? Can he do 2 like that in a row? I don't think so.
I think that Whole Cake did not like they didn't end with a party, right? Like they didn't have a whole lot.
It was the Empire Strikes Back. Sam, were you talking about trilogies?
I was saying that on Twitter, yeah.
Okay.
Whole Cake is like has a kind of an Empire Strikes Back ending, and then I think that the catharsis is that Wano's going to wrap up. It's going to be fairly conclusive, and they're going to have something to celebrate in the end.
Which means that it can't be overrun with the Navy, at least not immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
Which leads one to believe that.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Greg. No, I was just going to say it could be overrun by Ewoks at the end, though. So that's still a possibility.
Yep.
My secondary, my kind of secondary possibility is that maybe Wano will end conclusively as like the end of the Orochi part of the story, but like whatever big world-changing war that Kaido and Big Mom are getting up to, maybe that will like move on to other locations or something.
The Mom, I think, will move on to another location. Kaido, I think we're wrapping up here. I get that feeling because that sets an imbalance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I think Luffy can officially be called an emperor.
And even if the Marines don't show up in Wano, like that, I think that's part of that's another thing. That's another point into why I like Drake being here so much. Like he kind of serves that role, even by himself.
I mean, the goal is to open
it, Greg.
So I think
that's true.
Oh man, it might be another Dressrosa where like they show up after things are done.
Maybe shows up after things are done.
Yeah.
Well, he was last with the government, the 5 elders specifically. So I'm super interested in that. Steve, what were your thoughts on the chapter?
Well, it was very exciting. I really enjoyed this one. I do think this is worthy of the title. No, it was. I think the title is more very clickbaity. Big news, number 3 will surprise you, but we won't tell you.
Film at 11.
Yeah. I really like the Around the World chapters. They're always fun. I'm kind of glad that we did this again. I think many people forgot that the beginning or after the end of Act 1 of Wano, we checked up on the Reverie. I think a lot of people forgot about that. So this was pretty cool. Morgans can fight. I am surprised, but good on him. And he has some journalistic integrity to a point.
Yeah, very, very fine point.
I like
just because he isn't going to tell the lies you want him to tell doesn't mean he tells the truth.
If you were running for mayor, he'd vote for you. I like this introduction of Sword, and I read it wrong originally. I read it as all quotes Captain of Sword, and I'm like, well, that's a dumb title. And then I realized I'm like, oh no, wait, it's like Navy has their own like shield now called Sword, which is weird because Marvel also. Okay, well, Marvel also has
Sword.
Sword. It's Space Shield. But I thought this was really cool. And you know what? I'm kind of glad this wasn't just immediately dropped on us. Like it's like, whoa, Drake is in on it the whole time. I'm kind of glad it was hinted at in the chapter when Law escaped, and obviously he was talking to somebody, and it was very obvious it was Drake. So I kind of like that Oda kind of set this up instead of
it is in his child drawing.
What was that?
And his drawing as a child.
Does he have a sword?
Well, he's a Marine.
Oh yeah. Well, we knew he was previously Navy.
Has he been Navy ever since he turned pirate? You think about that? I wonder.
Yes.
I'm
almost certain at this point that
Steve, do you mind if I go on a tangent for a second here?
Go ahead, Zach.
Sorry. So Drake, was he a rear admiral?
I think so.
Yeah. So I just want to confirm, and I guess I'm asking Greg here since you read it in its original language originally. So we've been talking about sword as a extension of the world government. I have been thinking of it kind of like as an insurrection kind of thing, like within the world government, within the Marines.
Well, no, it's within the Marines that doesn't necessarily agree with the world government. Like, why are they concerned about CP0? Like,
exactly.
Maybe the Marines don't agree with the elders. They don't agree with the Celestial Dragons. Maybe there's a faction.
Yeah, I mean, to me, swords seem to be an insurrection force within the Marines that didn't.
I don't know if I would go that far.
No, because Kobe had to specifically, walk out of the way and act super secretive while on a Marine ship. Also, why is Diaz Drake a captain here of that group when he was previously a rear admiral 2 years ago, or prior to his quote unquote desertion? So
did he have to start over?
I mean, so
a cabin boy?
I'm just kind of confused as to whether Diaz Drake is still in Navy HQ or whether he's part of this, kind of separate but also kind of involved group. I'm a little confused about that.
So it depends how far down the rabbit hole and how many tinfoil hats you want to put on at one time.
All of them. Put them all on me.
There is that cover where Sakazuki is performing bonsai, and he has his top off, and you can see he has a tattoo of a sword on his right arm.
I heard this.
So there's that. I'm
not that tinfoily. Yeah,
I don't subscribe to that because Sakazuki
you can make that work.
You can make it work. You can absolutely make it work, but that puts Sakazuki in a positive light, and
also
Kobe
and Sakazuki and Kobe and Sakazuki don't seem to see eye to eye at all.
They don't seem eye to eye, but that's also something that Oda could be doing. You know what I mean? We're not supposed to like Sakazuki. He could have a very, very good reason for why he's as to the line justice as he is, and that could be emotional even. But it depends how Oda wants to spin it, how he wants to take it. It's really hard to say at this point. Mm-hmm. That is an interesting point that you bring up about it being, a faction within the Marines. I hadn't considered it from that angle. I don't think so because of how they use the secret passwords is a direct callback to exactly how Corazon and Sengoku. Yeah. So I think that lends a little bit of credence to the idea that it's something official within the Marines. But again, it's Oda. He can absolutely go whichever way he wants to. And as far as being a captain, he could have been stripped of his title, rear admiral. I mean, that could all be part of him. I mean, what was it?
Well, no,
somebody
he's
mentioned on Twitter.
He's captain of sword, and I mean, it seems to me that he has the authority over Kobe here,
right?
Amongst these two, yeah,
mm-hmm. He definitely does. But it depends how who knows about this, right? Like, who knows that he's a part of this? Did Kizaru know when Kizaru beat the crap out of him in Shabondi? Were they just acting? Was that like a Leonardo DiCaprio? Was that a Departed moment? It's very complicated, but it's all guesswork at this point. You really can't draw a hard line. It's just a lot of guessing because
I'll ask this, Greg.
Damn vague. Yes.
Yeah. No, I agree. So when it says captain of sword, is it the same? I think there are different ways to say captain, or is it like leader of that specific group, like the?
Let's find out. One
I was waiting for that.
Sword Taicho.
Okay, so I think
sounds the same, right? Yeah, Taicho is not. Isn't it Taisa? Isn't Taisa captain in the Marines?
Yeah.
I mean, they're both captain, but it just means like captain of the group.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So maybe it's not captain. Yeah, like he's like a squad leader, sword checking in. So that makes me think that Drake is actually kind of higher up than a captain here. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Oda very purposefully left all of this vague. I was just super curious about that. I would take a step back from my original theory there then and say it's likely a special force set up within the world government to put a check on within the Marines to put a check on the world government and all the shit that the Five Elders and Emu and that, like maybe the Marines actually have that one up on the world government, even though the world government doesn't, even realize that that's happening, which is a cool twist.
If you were a good Marine, you'd feel like you're always getting undercut by the world government. Like people are always fucking with your ability to make.
Yeah, Sakazuki was pissed at the Five Elders the entire time we saw him. Last time we saw him. Yeah.
I mean, he's a bastard, but I'd rather, I'd rather have him in charge than any of the Celestial Dragons.
Well, we don't know what the Celestial Dragons are up to, but do you really want a militaristic dictatorship with Sakazuki in charge versus maybe super evil genocidal maniacs? I don't know. Not a great choice if you ask me, but who knows? Steve, I'm sorry I went on that tangent in the middle of your wrap up there.
That was like a year ago. What else? Okay. Warlords disbanding. Kind of figured that was going to happen ever since Fujitora was like, I don't like it. Kind of surprised that he wasn't like a guest speaker, even though he has no place in Talk in the Reverie, but it'd be like, if I could just chime in real quick. Hello, I'm Fujitora. Nice to meet all of you. I don't like it either. Seems like you guys are already decided, but just want to get my thoughts out there. So that was like a big thing to take away. But if I can remember like everything else that's been said in the last like 45 minutes, which I don't, my predictions, let's see, I'm going to go back to the beginning. So we have a fatality, which is Sabo reported. He's not dead. And then what else we have? We have attempted murder, which I feel like that's Vivi. I feel like Vivi was they tried that was the assassination attempt. And then and I guess like the other story was the Warlords thing. So as far as I know, my money is on the Sabo dying thing, and I think that's pretty obvious. Seeing how like the page with the revolutionaries, how they're reacting, and someone wanted to assassinate Vivi.
So you don't actually think Sabo is dead, though. You just think that's the story.
No, we ain't doing that shit again. As much as Sabo's good and all, I can't be the only one that doesn't completely buy into the brotherly bond between him and Luffy as much as I do with Ace and Luffy. Despite Ace not really being in the story all that much, I don't know. I just bought it a lot more.
They spent more time together as kids.
Yeah, that too. And Sabo's like, hey, I'm your brother too. Misa back.
I'm still around.
And Luffy's just like, oh yeah, it's like the whole time we thought you were dead, it was like you were there with us, so we don't have to catch you up on anything. Sabo's that's a complicated mess. I think he's the one being reported as dead, and I think someone tried to kill Vivi. Just a shot in the dark. I'm kind of curious if that bastard Charlos had anything to do with it. Because Charlos tried kidnapping Shirahoshi, and Vivi was like, "Nuh-uh," snapping her fingers.
I like that take.
His face. Yeah, it was my immediate thought. So I'm curious. But
fun thing about this chapter.
Well, here's the thing too: is like we have a cipher pole guy saying like, no, you don't report that. So I could see that being tied in with celestial dragons abusing their power and using cipher pole to put a petty hit out on somebody. So that's my thought.
Ed.
You guys have pretty much discussed everything. I just want to talk about Oda's direction, I think, going forward, where it felt like in Wano, we were heading towards the end of the story in Wano. We have a definite, idea of what's going on. We didn't really know what controversies were going to be animating the larger world outside of Luffy's story beyond Wano. And this chapter goes, I think, a long way in establishing that, and you get that sort of joy of, how to put it, like, there's wonder in the One Piece world. There's mystery. There's things we don't know. Oda set all that up in this chapter. And these are I think these are some of the questions that are going to animate like all the way until the final conflict. Like some of this is going to drive all the way until then. And I really enjoy the chapter, and I don't really have much to add besides outside of what you guys, we've already discussed pretty much everything. And I don't want to, I'd like to move on to the next segment.
No, well, I have to talk forever and ever.
Well, you already did.
No, there was just a few more things I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love these momentum chapters. These add so much flavor to the larger world of One Piece, and this is a perfect time to do it with the breaks between the acts of Wano.
Yeah, no, I love this chapter. I talked about the sword thing, so I won't talk about that anymore. But the Big News Morgans, and every time I see him, my heart skips a beat, and I'm just super happy. This was especially fun with him, and seeing a little bit more about his character, and specifically about the newspapers, which we have been seeing since the very beginning of the series. Getting a little light shown. What is it? The Fourth Estate. Seeing more about that in the One Piece world is pretty damn cool. Yeah, I mean, I love that whole scene. The stuff with, I think Greg really convinced me about Vivi not being the target or intended target, and that Cobra could have been the one that was hit. I mean, he was already dying, so maybe he just ended up dying. It was a fatality, not a murder necessarily. I mean, there was also an attempted murder, but that's separate. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it would be interesting to see Vivi being the Queen of Alabasta at the end of all this. So instead of us worrying about her, that she ascended to a place of power because of what happened here. I don't know. I have no idea. The stuff with Sabo, I have no freaking clue where Oda's trying to take things. But I like all of your guys' theories. And the last thing, I guess, just the Seven Warlords disbanding. I'm like, it's about time. Glad to see this. Glad to see a little bit of Oda finally taking down the pillars of his world. He does such a good job world building. It's nice to see him kind of wreck his sandcastles a little bit, so he could build new, bigger, better sandcastles. Yeah, I really love the hell out of this chapter, and it's gonna make me almost a little sad going back to the climax of Wano, but I'm sure good stuff's gonna happen there too. I am super curious though. The only thing I didn't mention is why does Drake not want the Marines involved here, or the government involved here? Because he seems to be happy that they are preoccupied. So I'm curious about that.
Do you see the way he sits in that one scene where he's like, he leans back against the destroyed wall of the thing. He's so relieved like the Navy isn't going to show up. He just sort of sprawls out there. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, any final thoughts beyond that? All right, let's move on into the next segment. You guys ready?
Yeah, we got a Lil Piece with Alex.
Hey everybody, Alex here. This is another episode of Lil Piece. This is a segment that I normally do with Steve, but since he will be on the show this week, I just wanted to record my thoughts on this week's chapter. I will not be on the episode, unfortunately. I have an improv show, and unfortunately that takes precedence. So let's get started. Cover story. Lola's contemporaries at Dressrosa, perhaps? I don't know. I dig it. Okay, so a lot to cover in this chapter. As the chapter title says, big news. Big news abounds. I think, despite it all, I think it's really awesome how, like, lax Garp seems to be, but then again, I guess he is semi-retired, so... okay, so the first thing that is mentioned is the incident regarding the Alabasta Kingdom. Now, this incident, there's so much stuff in this chapter, by the way, that's like extremely vague, and there seems to be a lot of interesting misdirection. So these are just my thoughts. I don't think that anything is going to play out the way that it seems, just because that's generally the way Oda does it. First and foremost, I would like to state on the record that I do love not knowing where this is going. That's the most exciting part for me. So, the incident regarding Alabasta, my first thought would be in regards to Morgan's news. So we'll move on to that. So Morgan's is basically telling us what we missed during the Reverie. You know, Wano has been going on in the One Piece timeline for almost 2 weeks now, which means the Reverie has come and gone. I love that Oda is shooting past that. Way to boost the narrative a little bit. So Morgan's mentions a fatality, an attempted murder, and vote results. Now we're going to go over each of those. Before I start, I'd like to say that it's really awesome that Morgan's is strong, I guess, but he beat up a guy. I don't know how strong this government stooge was, but he's a journalist first and foremost. I think that's pretty great, and I love his flying teapot fortress, his little dirigible. The World Economic News can move. That's pretty great. I do really love that. So, the fatality. Who could this be? I made a list. Cobra, Sabo, Vivi, a celestial dragon, one of the 5 elder stars, Bonnie. Like these are all characters who would make waves, having died at the Reverie. Oh, and I guess one of the Revolutionary Army captains as well. I didn't think about that until just now. I would say that a celestial dragon is probably ruled out. It's a big deal, of course, if one of them were killed. But since the Revolutionary Army was going to go to war with them anyway, that was to be sort of expected. So everybody at Kamabaka Queendom wouldn't be like freaking out over this. So ruling that out. I'm also ruling out Bonnie. We barely know anything about her anyway, so that wouldn't really make any sort of an impact. But more on that later, because she is a factor, I think. Elder Star death would be a big deal, but those guys can probably hold their own. And we also don't know anything about them other than the fact that they're like underneath Emu, kind of decide what happens in the world. So speaking of Emu's photo selection at the end of the what people call the Reverie arc, that would make a strong case for Vivi being the fatality. And that made me super uneasy initially, but taking into account that Alabasta is the one problem kingdom that doesn't have a celestial dragon rep, I think King Cobra makes the most sense here. I don't think Vivi would be killed off panel. You know, she's an important character to not only the readers, but to the story. And I think if you killed Vivi off panel, it would be doing a disservice to her character. However, I think it would be ballsy as hell to do that. And I think I don't know. I think I might like that. I don't want to say I would like that or not. But I honestly don't think Vivi would be killed off panel. But as we all know, Oda has no qualms about killing in a flashback. And if we go back to like, oh, what happened during the Reverie, then it would technically be a flashback. So, yeah. Same stuff with Sabo, right? Like, I don't think he'd be killed off panel, but once again, no qualms about killing in a flashback. That being said, I don't think Sabo is the fatality. The way that everybody is talking about it, it's as if Sabo did something despicable versus like, dying. The attempted murder, is this the same as the fatality? Is this correlated with the fatality that he mentions? I don't know. That's also another brain scratcher, right? Will this turn into a whodunit situation? Well, and by whodunit situation, I mean, say, for example, that Cobra was killed, but who was he killed by? Well, he couldn't have been killed by the world government because that information would get out. So they got to pin it on a fall guy. Sabo is there. He's there to get back Kuma. He's there to wage war on the Celestial Dragons. But that's during the Reverie. Reverie is happening. World government needs to snuff out Alabasta. They need to teach them a lesson. They really need to make them a scapegoat. So say that Cobra dies as a result of something Sabo did. Could be an accident. Could be premeditated by the government. I would assume, though, that the attempted murder, the culprit, the fall guy, that will be Sabo. The victim could be a Celestial Dragon, could be a 5 Elder, could be and it could be Cobra, could be Vivi. But I would say the attempted murder might be on the Celestial Dragon, just because he's there to get Kuma out, right? Or Bonnie, aka Connie, the Queen Dowager, she could have gotten into a scrap with Sabo, and that could have been the attempted murder, right? Like, she could have gotten in the mix, and they're like, oh, you tried to kill this monarch. We're gonna fucking get you. I don't know. So, I don't know. I think Bonnie has something to do with it. Kuma is in the mix as well. I just haven't really thought about it too much. More on Vivi and Cobra later. Well, in a second, actually. The third thing that Morgans mentions is the vote results, which I am assuming is the disbanding of the warlord system, which I'll get to. But another thing that was mentioned that almost gets glossed over is Walpole's leaked intel to the World Economic Journal. And I think this might have to do with the Alabasta incident as well. As we all know, Vivi was with the Straw Hats in Drum. So Walpole knows that she was in cahoots with the Straw Hats. So this intel could be perhaps Vivi's connection to the Straw Hats. This would give the world government cause to snuff out Vivi. Or you see pirates working with Alabasta royalty, right? That would be a breach of world government law. If Cobra is dead and Vivi is now in charge, and she was a part of the Straw Hat crew, she'll be charged with treason. If she is dismissed from her position as a monarch, who controls Alabasta at that point? Who controls it? Is it the world government? Is it the Navy? Well, this then brings me to what Blackbeard says. He says, he has in regards to this prize, he said it'll be in the Navy's hands if he doesn't get it first. So let's go through the, what it seems Oda wants us to think. If he wants us to think that Sabo is dead, it could be the flame fruit again, right? Because Blackbeard is hunting powers, and the flame fruit is a terrifyingly powerful one at that. If Sabo is arrested, same thing, right? Sabo is there. Burgess could go and try and, wants to get his revenge and get that fruit. If the world government has control over a monarchless Alabasta, that leaves it completely wide open for the taking, right? Why would Blackbeard want that kingdom? Why would he want Alabasta? Well, Crocodile was once interested in the country due to the Poneglyph and Pluton. But then in Impelled Down, he says he is not interested in that country anymore. I kind of want to know what changed. Was it the fact that he tried and failed, and then he was just like, well, whatever, I'm just going to keep on living my life? Or does he know something that Blackbeard doesn't? Would Blackbeard go for the kingdom? Would he go for this empty monarchless kingdom with this Poneglyph, with Pluton? Does he know about all this? This is pretty interesting stuff, I think. So these are just my thoughts. I have no theories as to what's going to happen at this point. I'm just, this is conjecture. Anything can happen at this point, right? So next thing in the chapter, this is regarding Drake, Kobe, and Sword. I love this a lot. Kobe is way more important than he seems. By the way, did he get a promotion over the course of the Reverie? Because he was a captain when he was defending the Dressrosa ship, and now he is a rear admiral. Which brings up the question, of course, what is Sword exactly? Is it a task force like Navy SEALs? Or is it a much smaller hidden branch of Marines that can see how corrupt the government is and act on their own accord. And now, and you know, then you have to wonder who else is in Sword. You know, could it be Smoker, or maybe Kuzan could be a member of Sword who is infiltrating Blackbeard's ranks? Last we heard about Aokiji / Kuzan, he was in talks with Blackbeard to do something. So a lot of people think that, you know, maybe he joined the Blackbeard Pirates. But if he's a member of Sword, you know, after losing his fight with Sakazuki, maybe Sakazuki appointed him a member or something. I don't know. Nevertheless, it looks like the Navy will stay out of Wano. Kobe mentions that they don't have the manpower, so that's interesting. Garp even says that they are using all of their resources right now, and I'm assuming this means to get the warlords. Kobe's on his way to capture Hancock. There are only 4 warlords now. If Kuma is indeed just now a slave for the Celestial Dragons, so there's 4 now. We've got Buggy, Mihawk, Weevil, and Hancock. Those 4. Now Hancock mentions that, you know, the reason that they were chosen for their position is because they're strong, and she's right. Like, they're strong as hell. And even Buggy has strength in numbers. Buggy is being Buggy again. I'm a little sad that it seems that he's leaving his whole crew behind. I hope he takes his core group, because, you know, he's got to start again somewhere, right? Where will we see Buggy next? I don't think we're going to see him for a while. It'd be nice if we did see him pretty soon, but I don't think he'll show up for a little bit now. The Giants leaving his temp agency came at a pretty good time, I would think. Mihawk is going to be fine, I think. He's the world's strongest swordsman, allegedly, and you know, he's basically untouchable unless the Navy has brought in an admiral like Fujitora, or maybe Ryokugyu. We have no idea what he's like at all. Perhaps he's another swordsman. I doubt that the Navy would underestimate Mihawk. Knowing what little we know about Weevil, I think he's going to wreck these Marines. Like completely wreck them. I think he's going to continue like plowing forward wherever, you know, he's going next. Which I would assume is Whitebeard's secret island, which I don't know if that's where he is now. Looking in the background of this, there's billowing smoke and there's cottages and stuff like that. So I don't know. Hancock. Her fate, I think, is going to be interesting. She has a large role to play generally in the story. And her and Kobe have that Luffy connection. So I do wonder if there's going to be some sort of under the table negotiation here between the two of them. Thinking ahead here, that'd be cool if like the warlords and Sword team up against the terror that is the world government, and then Blackbeard. I don't know. The thing that would be really killer is if that Oda goes right into Act 3 of Wano after this chapter and there's nothing else. But I think there might be a follow-up. Anyway, that's all I needed to say about this. There is a lot to say, obviously, and I don't know what the guys are gonna discuss, but I'm looking forward to seeing whatever is next. You know, One Piece is what it is. I'm strapped in for the ride. Blackbeard makes me very uneasy. Emu's VV thing, the picture, that made me really uneasy. So I don't know. We're all waiting with bated breath. But anyway, why don't we go to the next segment?
This is the double anime recap for episodes 902 and 903. I'm your host Sam, and today with me we have our good friend Edward.
Thank you, Edward Cheese Curry, as I'm known on Twitter right now. At least until the next cup noodle ad.
Our first episode this week is 902. The Yokozuna appears. The invincible Urashima goes after Okiku. And the title card begins at 4 minutes and 32 seconds. And it begins with, they're outside of the trio, Luffy, Zoro, and Okiku are outside of Bakura Town, and Okiku is trying to silence Luffy. She's covering his mouth and saying that like everybody in this town is affiliated with the bad guys. They're with Tama's kidnappers.
Yeah, just to start out with this episode, if you'd have told me at the beginning of this episode that we'd be getting to like, you know, cutting off the top knot and like Luffy fighting Urashima, like I would have thought that would happen at the end of this episode,
Right.
I suppose my expectations were off.
Well, that is what happens at the end of this episode.
Well, I mean, like getting the actual like fight with him and Urashima. I don't remember it going that long.
Yeah. That's my general. I think we're on the same page.
Okay. I just want to get that. Like they found like the minimum level of pacing that they can make this show and have me still be interested in it, because like it's testing my patience.
Yeah, I was cool with the slow pacing at the beginning of Wano when we were just getting started, but like right now, this particular type of story material, we should be getting through it much faster.
We're not learning anything. We're not learning anything new about Wano at this point. We're reinforcing things about like the Kaido pirates and the Emperor's people and like the social relations of Wano. And we've learned that. We're just reinforcing it at this point, and like we can go through that faster.
And it isn't that unusual to begin with.
Like we're just Urashima doesn't need to talk that much.
Yeah. So they can't make a big fuss. So we get through the main gate by Luffy using his Conqueror's Haki.
That was cute. I mean, both these episodes have moments that I like and that I really enjoy. But take it as a whole, it's just like, what are we doing here?
And Okiku then kind of goes on to explain the history of Bakura Town and how Orochi, came in and took over and stole all the houses he liked and gave it to his subordinates. There is a sumo match happening at the heart of the city. A sumo wrestler goes flying and Luffy has to like grab him by the leg, even though they're like on the other side of town. Other side of town right now. So we cut to the sumo tournament, and it's Urashima in his shirtless glory. He's the champion. He's the Yokozuna, and he's fighting off a wave of sumos. Like it's not 1-on-1. It's like one on like 5 or 6 guys, and he's just slapping them out of the way without any issue.
I could have done with less of this. I mean, I could have done with less Urashima mostly. Like I could just done with less of him.
The announcer of the tournament, who's kind of like the DBZ tournament announcer of Wano, he's saying that Urashima has beaten 19 wrestlers, and he gives the microphone over to the doctor, I guess, who's counting the number of broken bones. Like 10 arm bones have been broken, 15 leg bones, 52 ribs, 4 skulls, 7 backbones, 88 broken bones in total, and with 4 wrestlers completely missing because Urashima just kind of chucked them across town.
That's impressive. I mean, Urashima. Like, what? I mean, I like, this is the thing about every side character doesn't need to have like a plot and a story, and like this is one of my complaints about Dressrosa is that every side character has to have like a full arc. Mm-hmm. Or at least have a plot that they're in. Like, we don't always need all of these characters. I like the interaction with Okiku, but like, this is why arcs take as long as they do.
It's a weird push and pull where there's several layers of urgency in the story, but the story is taking all these like casual detours and like playing around with these kind of weak villains for fun.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mesh well. Like I think usually there should be like a good like we're almost fighting against the momentum of the story. Like the characters are getting distracted and wanting to go off on different paths and stuff. But the goals of the story and the goals of the characters are not like complementing each other right now.
Like, I know that Tama's in danger, but Tama's barely in these 2 episodes.
Well, and she's been like, Hold'em has been putting the pliers against her face for, as of the most recent episode, like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So out of the corner of his eye, Urashima sees Kiku, and he just slaps all the sumo wrestlers he's fighting out of the way. He's like, "Oh, my woman, Kiku, have you finally agreed to be my wife?" And that brings us to the eye catch of the episode, and we come back, and Luffy, he's not doing a very good job at keeping a low profile because he's just shouting to the crowd like, "Hey, do you guys know this little girl named Tama? The boss of this town should be around here somewhere, and we want to beat him up."
And later when he's fighting, he literally just says, like, well, you're a Yokozuna, I'm the guy who's going to be king of the pirates.
Right, yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Come on. You're bad at this.
There's some woman in the crowd who's mad about Okiku because she wants to marry Urashima. She wants to marry into wealth. But the crowd seems to agree that that this Okiku woman is just the right size for Urashima.
Well, he does shut the crowd up pretty good. He's like, you know, you all have no right to judge me. Like, yeah, like you can't judge Okiku. Like, I'm the only person who gets to judge people here.
His Urashima's subordinates are like, "Oh, big bro, I didn't know you were good with girls." And then they go to grab Okiku for him. And then we get into a very well animated fight on the street with Luffy and Zoro fighting the sumo wrestlers. Zoro's like using his hands. He's like really just tossing them over his shoulder. Looks really
open
cool.
Palm strike. Yeah.
Zoro lets Okiku get captured. This is a weird bit. Zoro lets Okiku get captured. The sumo wrestler persuades him like, "Oh, you don't want to cut up a naked man, do you?" And Zoro, I guess, is just like, "Oh yeah, no, I don't."
Zoro's a little sick of like Okiku just sort of playing. Like she has to like conceal her power level basically at this point.
Yeah,
it's like she's obviously something. Yeah, like she says she's a samurai.
I kind of brought this up in my most recent ANN review, but it's just really not clear what we're even supposed to think of Kiku right now.
Yeah. Like all the characters who are that large are important. Like
right.
And also she's obviously skilled and so I don't see the problem with it makes sense to me that Zoro would be like, well, she's obviously got this under control. Like she's not just a tea house waitress.
I think my problem is, like, we understand that, like, when she's pretending to be like a damsel in distress, like she's playing dumb to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
But it's when she like ends up doing something badass that she even that's when she looks the dumbest. Like, oh, like she's bad at. She's supposed to hide the fact that she's a badass, but she lets it slip out sometimes. So like, I don't know. I just don't know what's a judgment call coming from her, and like what's just her not knowing how she wants to present herself.
Be undercover. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of fighting mooks in the second half of this, just like Luffy and Zoro taking out random sumo wrestlers, and anyway.
Yeah, and we get to the part you were just talking about where Urashima is scolding the audience. He's like, "No, you guys are chattel. You guys are lowly bastards. I get to do whatever I want."
Mm-hmm.
He goes in for his eyes turn to hearts, and he goes in for a kiss for Okiku, and that's when like Kiku, her eyes get serious, and she says, "I don't know anybody called a lowly bastard," and she jumps up above him, cuts his top knot. Luffy's freaking out. It's like, Kiku is awesome. I like the way that Urashima's hair is animated, where like it's still up where the top knot was, and it like has to unfold outward.
It kind of makes sense because like their hair is like heavily waxed up when they get it put into the top knot. So I do like the way it falls out though.
Yeah, he's got a lot of great like just his pale faced expression, like, oh my god, I'm screwed.
Urashima would be much better if he didn't talk. No, he's a despicable villain, but it's like he's a monologuing villain.
He's a monologuing villain who doesn't have a single thing interesting to say that other villains haven't already said a million times.
Right. He's just a bastard.
So he goes in, he's mad at Kiku. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you." And this is another weird moment where Okiku is she's kind of frightened. She's about to get hit, but then she like stops herself. She puts her hands to her mouth like, "I knew you were the kind of man who would hit a woman." And like in the manga, I read that as like she's being kind of sincere about that. Like, "Oh, I knew you were a piece of shit, but I could have at least respected a chivalrous piece of shit."
Mm-hmm.
But here it's like she's actually teasing him. She actually wants to rile him up.
Yeah.
So the sumo slap, Luffy jumps in. He's got his big like gear third hand. He's excited. His shirt's off. He's showing off his beefcake bod. And To be continued, and we move on to episode 903, a climactic sumo battle. Straw Hat versus the strongest ever Yokozuna. And the title card begins at 4 minutes and 23 seconds. And even after the recap, it kind of repeats the this whole sumo slap.
Yep.
God, this got so... The fight between Luffy and Urashima, like, it has some really well animated moments.
Mm-hmm.
It's ungodly repetitive.
Well, they
slap each other.
We have to see him try and gouge the eyes like 5 different times, and the 100-hand slap, and that goes on for like 30 seconds.
So they do the sumo slap. They both kind of like recoil backwards, and they're both about to like fall out of the ring, and their arms are like windmilling as they're trying to keep their balance.
That's yes, in wrestling we call that the aloha arn. Doing the aloha dance.
It goes on forever.
That went on for a
while. Urashima gets back on his feet and he's like, I have to kill Okiku or I'll lose face. And Luffy, being ever the shyster, is like, all right, fine. I'll let you kill her if you can beat me. And he's just being really cocky and confident. So this is when Luffy, the title card shows up. You get the kind of the watercolor effect in the little Wano specific title card, or like Oda box type thing. And it's Luffy no Umi, sumo wannabe pirate, record undefeated versus Usopp, which is a great gag.
That is a common style of sumo name. I'm thinking of a top division wrestler named Okinoumi, who's in the division currently.
So yeah, this is when most of this fight is just like Urashima doing like a bunch of slaps, like hundreds of slaps, and Luffy's dodging them all easily.
Yeah, that's the other frustrating thing. It's just like Luffy's toying with him.
Yeah, for
when he could just like destroy him.
20-minute episode.
There's
not a lot else that goes on.
There's a couple of minutes of Hold'em and Tama.
So this is when Urashima is doing some of the illegal moves, like the ear splitter and the eye splitter. And Luffy, he momentarily tries to call him out on it, but eventually just kind of smiles, like, I can handle it. And that brings us to the eye catch of the episode. We come back, we get to Hold'em and Tama, and they're talking about the Kozuki clan. So it's more than Tama's animal powers. It's the fact that she mentioned the Kozuki clan, and Hold'em is going on. I forgot about this detail where the legend goes that the Kozuki clan almost destroyed Wano 20 years ago, which hasn't really come back up in the manga. So I don't know if that's going to be like another like Doflamingo Dressrosa situation or what.
We've been focused mostly on Straw Hats and on Kaido's pirates, so we actually don't get much of the Emperor Wano perspective.
Yeah, I think we're holding out on that Odin flashback.
Yeah.
So back to the sumo fight, and yeah, this is when Urashima is bragging like, I'm the greatest Yokozuna in Wano, and Luffy is having it. He says, yeah, well, I'm going to be king of the pirates, and he's in midair. It's very like kind of iconic looking shot and pose as he's doing the sumo / kabuki / whatever it is pose. And he like extends his arm way back. The crowd is slightly bemused, and it's the giant slap. It's like a gear third type thing. He slaps Urashima. Urashima's body is like red from Luffy's handprint.
I thought that was funny. I like the handprint joke.
Zoro meets and Urashima goes and crashes into Hold'em's place, and that's when Zoro reunites with Luffy in the ring, and the crowd is kind of reacting to this like, wait, that guy who killed the magistrate, he's with that sumo kid?
Time to freak out.
Yep. And then we come to there's a scene with Law and Beppo, and Law is using his op powers on Beppo's stomach and identifying that he had been eating the fish from the poison river, and that's why Beppo is sick all of a sudden.
Now, Beppo, don't you eat this fish? It's poison. Actually, I thought that was funny.
Yeah,
like
Beppo's very
such
cute.
a throwaway scene, but Beppo's so cute. Don't look at me with those cute eyes.
Beppo is very cute. Law is worried about what the Straw Hats are up to, and he's saying like, "Oh, I hope they're lying low," and oh, the irony.
Yeah.
And so the last scene of the episode is Luffy, Zoro, and Okiku kind of joining together and preparing to like face down this crowd. To be continued. Any general thoughts, Ed?
Weak, boring, and annoying is a bad combination for like 2 episodes of a villain I didn't want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's weak, boring, and annoying. That's all. That's what I got to say about Urashima. Like, why are we spending 2 episodes on this guy? He can go away.
Yeah. My main criticism is these episodes would have been like a perfectly acceptable like standalone bottle episode where it's like, oh, here's the sumo episode, not the little sumo arc within the arc.
Yeah.
Here's an episode about sumo wrestling. Here's the episode where Kiku cuts Urashima's top knot off. That's the eye catch, the mid part of the episode, and then the second half of the episode could have been Luffy versus Urashima.
And it ends with him crashing into Holden's place.
Right, like you would have lost nothing if they could have paced it that way, which is how I imagine it would be paced if there was a One Piece Kai, as it were.
Yeah.
Just the pacing, it really, really holds these episodes down, and the episodes look great for the most part. Like there are standout sequences. Everything looks really nice, and the characters
like Urashima getting like flung through the buildings looks actually pretty great.
Yeah,
I like that.
2 good looking episodes that have small moments that are pretty good, pretty entertaining or interesting. Just it's stretched way too thin.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. That's about all I got.
All right, yeah. If that's all you want to say, then I think we can move on to the next segment.
Okay.
This is the Piece Together segment where we only ship Rockstar and Lola. We have questions, comments, and theories, of course, from you guys. We had a pretty record-sized manga recap, I believe. So we're
I
not
think you
gonna be
underestimate how long we've talked in the past.
That is a very good point, Ed. But we're going to be skipping some questions and comments this week, but we will hopefully get to them next week if we don't get to them this time. But let's start with Ed. What's it called?
Dispiece.
Sam, what do we have on Discord this week?
Our first dispiece comes from Straw Hat Pirate 9, who says Chapter 956, big news. It should really be named 1 big news and 2 other ones we will only hint at, so you'll have to suffer a whole week, maybe longer. And all that is in all caps, so you know she's very enthusiastic about that.
I don't know.
Sorry, I'm raging a little bit.
Try big news. Smaller, slaker.
Sorry, I'm raging a little bit. I really love the chapter, but I have never felt more blue-balled by Oda than right now. If Sabo or my girl Vivi is harmed, I like Mikey's, a.k.a. OP at a Time's idea. Sabo and Vivi made it look like they died and escaped together and are now bonding about Luffy. Oda, please let us know how they are both doing next week, please.
Yep. Don't have anything else to say about that.
I mean, I agree. Yes.
Yeah. I should mention Greg is also ducked out in this time. So if you don't hear him talking, that is why he left after our record setting. He's
probably going to work, isn't it? Monday morning in Japan. No, it's a holiday, right? It is.
Go ahead.
Our next dispiece comes from Dune Alien, who says, "Wait, this twist. Are you saying that Garp knows what's going on in the world? Is Garp smart? Biggest plot twist in One Piece."
To be fair,
no. Old people have plenty of time to drink coffee and read the newspaper.
That's fair. Yeah, he's retired now, basically. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah, I mean,
sits around.
Plus, he was there. He was there.
And they also say, I'm not sure I understood. Is Kobe working for a rear admiral, or was he promoted?
He's promoted.
Yeah, I think so. And then they also add to what Straw Hat Pirate 9 says, I think Sabo was framed for what happened to Alabasta. The revolutionaries would be the greatest scapegoat.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And then our good friend Joe chimes in with One Piece live-action TV spin-off idea, Agents of Sword.
Yep.
Just
then
our idea.
Our next disc piece comes from OG-san, who says, "Hey, OPP, with all the crazy events in the chapter, I almost forgot what Neptune said in chapter 905, that the reason for this reverie was for him to ask if the fishmen could move to the surface. Do you think it was approved?"
Yeah.
It's not really discussed at all, isn't it?
No. I think it was approved. Neptune didn't seem disappointed, and Garp had to ask him not to fear the surface as if they had a plan to move there.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Good question.
Yeah, they're all smiles.
It's the implication.
I guess they gotta raise Luffy's flag at one point, don't they? At some point.
Mm.
And then our final disc piece comes from Stella, who says, "Hey OPP, I've been listening to old read-through episodes, cough cough, and I have a question for Ed.
Okay.
Would you be able to enjoy a trivia segment about the many gags of One Piece?"
Yeah. Was I anti-gag?
I think Ed usually is okay with trivia, or do you hate trivia?
No, I love trivia.
He does well, so I don't know why Ed would not like it.
No, it's just because it's always at the end of the recording session.
That's the problem.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm pro gag. I'm pro funny.
Good for you, Ed. Sam, anything else?
I don't know. I thought I was being misinterpreted there. I don't know.
That's the last of our disc piece.
Okay, let's go on to Reddit. We're gonna do some of these. Bricks Koha, which let's say I'm pronouncing that right, says, "Imagine a plot twist. Hypothetically, if one of the Straw Hat Pirates was playing a Marine undercover, who would it be, and what would their reasoning be behind it? Keep in mind, just for fun, keep it up, you guys." So that's okay. So one of the Straw Hat Pirates would be a Marine. That's, I guess, I guess you could also take this question as, which Marine is secretly a Straw Hat Pirate?
Here's one. It could be Frankie, and he's got like Manchurian Candidate programming from like his childhood, because we don't know anything about his parents. They're pirates.
True,
that's about
true.
it. Yeah,
we don't know about anything about anyone.
Manchurian Frankie.
Yeah, or anyone's parents. The Manchurian Frankie. Wow, what an interesting movie that would be.
Let's change the title of this episode.
Oh yes, to a
Kokoro
movie that everyone
will be played by Angela Lansbury.
Like what's reference to a movie that everyone, our fan base, our young fan base knows and love.
Hey, they saw the.
They don't even know about the remake with Denzel. I get my Ghost Lincoln in there whenever I can.
Ghost Lincoln. Let's do one from Black North Wind, who said, "Hi there, One Piece podcast. Aside from knowing what Pokemon game Oda will play this November, about that sword unit we were introduced to this chapter, do you think Kuzan is a part of that as well?"
Well, no. What we know about Kuzan is that they said he's working with Blackbeard.
Yeah.
So probably not.
Well, what if he's Blackbeard's rat?
Exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah. What if he's still undercover? Yeah.
Like Drake. Like Drake is. We thought he was a pirate too, and he is a member of Sword. So yeah, maybe.
I don't think.
I think he's probably with Helmeppo. I think Kuzan probably works with him.
I don't think Kuzan and Blackbeard can bullshit each other. I think, like, that's you go into that relationship knowing you're both scrutinizing the hell out of each other.
Mm.
Good question. Let's go to Pencils for Life. So since Kobe is absolutely not beating Hancock in a fight, do you think that there is a chance Kobe will get her to head to Wano to aid Luffy, or offer some other out for her? And does anyone else hope that Buggy is on the run in the next cover story after Capone?
That would be a good place for that.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Love that Buggy horror story.
I mean, Buggy is always in the covers. I feel like
Buggy's the exact kind of character to get a second cover story.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any other?
He'll get the last cover story.
Yeah, I wonder who's going to be the last.
Yeah.
Was he the first one or the second one?
He was the first.
Yeah. It was him, then Kobe and Helmeppo.
Any other? Oh, what about the Hancock thing?
Oh. I don't know. The strength of the Island of Women seems to be its location. So I wonder, like, I don't think they're going to be driven out of their lands. I think they're going to be protecting their home. If they are indeed surrounded by Marines.
Okay. This is going to be the controversial question, I guess. This comes from Ice Slice. Greetings from the Great White North. I'm thinking that's Canada. So he had a question about the quote-unquote class warfare that's going on between scan readers and official readers, and we've been talking about this since the chapters have trended worldwide, I think, on Twitter for the last 2 chapters. And I also want to note, Sabo trended this time, and that's the only spoiler I had for this chapter is that Sabo was trending.
I somehow managed to. I must have muted the right people because anything that looks remotely like a spoiler, unfortunately, I do mute you.
I mean, I abandoned Twitter for 2 days, and I am so happy I did. Anyway,
I managed to stay unspoiled, staying on my apps.
Good for you. Anyway, the question is, to start without scans, there would be far less fans in general. I know I wouldn't have been able to read it along with most of my friends a decade ago, so why is there all the hostility nowadays? I don't agree with the sentiment that some members of your crew have, that if you read scans, you are a lesser fan, or that none of your other contributions to the property matter. If these people care about One Piece enough to push it to trending on Twitter, I know the majority of them have supported the series in a multitude of other ways. The hardcore fans are the lifeblood of the property. Let's not crucify them for what is effectively the same as running ad block on a YouTube video. What's your opinion? I would love to have a civil conversation about this if possible. So let's not please stab each other here, like we usually do in the Piece Together segment.
I mean, if you live in an area where you can get One Piece legally and you don't, you're a dick.
There's no excuse.
And that's no, but I understand people who use scans if there's no way to buy it. I was that way at one time, but what I do on Twitter is mostly just for my enjoyment of the series. I will meet you if anything looks like a spoiler, and Twitter is serving me these tweets now because I follow all these One Piece accounts. So sometimes, like, against my will, I will get people's tweets in my timeline, and I don't follow these people. There's no reason for me to see this, but it looks like One Piece spoilers. And sometimes it is. Maybe sometimes it isn't, but I still, I meet you.
Like, look, I think if you asked me this a couple, let's say, 10 months ago, a reasonable discussion could be had. There are only, I think, 2 countries that don't have free access, and I might be wrong, that don't have free access to Shonen Jump or Manga Plus, and I think it's China and Japan. One of those countries gets it legally. Anyway, the other one, I think China has some. I'm not sure. I can't really comment on that since I don't live in China. But if we have any Chinese listeners, they could catch us up on that. However. And I posted a whole Twitter thread about this, and I think it gets to the point much better than I could say it here right now. Today, you don't have to read scans. If you have no money, you could still read the chapter that Steven translates every week for free the same time it comes out in Japan. Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern typically. Or I think it'll be 5 or whatever after daylight savings time. But there's no reason to read scans. They are inferior in its translation. And I know I'm going to hear the Zolo people and all of that. But you know what? That's not really a big deal. If you have qualms about the way specific names are translated, you're not focusing on the important part, which is the story. Now, I think you're not going to get the correct story all the time when you do read scanlations. And it might seem like I'm quibbling with little things when it comes to or I'm not quibbling with little things when it comes to the official scan, and I am with the scanlations. but you know they just get stuff wrong. It's different than issues you have as to whether or not you agree with the way something is translated. The Thousand Beast pirate thing versus the Animal Kingdom pirate is a good example. Maddie, I think, put that very well last week with that's just not how it's written. There was the disagreement with that stupid Frankie thing from last week's chapter, which is a stupid discussion because it just says a number there. That's it. And the scanlators, they often make up their own thing in order to get to differentiate themselves from the official material so that they can get people on their side. I understand you want to read it first. I understand you don't want to get spoiled, but the way to stop yourself from getting spoiled is to wean yourself off of it. You have to wait the same amount of time anyway. You're waiting Sunday through Sunday instead of Friday through Friday.
Can I put in my 2 cents about this?
Please.
Sure.
Because it's completely like separate from the quality and all of this stuff. It's just really disrespectful to an artist because it is his work. It is being stolen. It is being published, illegally on the internet. And it's just like, I mean, like I mentioned, it's like if you met Oda, would you be like, oh, I love reading One Piece. I read it, 2 days before it comes out because someone steals it and puts it online for me. And there's people mentioned when I was talking about this that, one time at a convention, I think it was who was it? Maybe the fairy tale author, like someone asked him a question about a chapter that hadn't even been published yet. And, I think it was Tite Kubo went off Twitter because of people publishing putting stuff about the chapters up before it's released. And that we literally get it the same day as Japan. And, Japanese readers don't read scans. They wait until it comes out. And it's super disrespectful. It's, this is someone's artwork and, Oda works so hard and his work is incredible. And, he gets like 4 hours of sleep every night and he does this every week. And for people to be like so privileged that they're like, no, I have to read it right when it comes out, even though it's not even out. It's just like, one person commented me, they're like, you don't understand. One Piece is like crack to these people. And it's like, dude, we all freaking love One Piece. And, having love for something really is about showing respect to the artist and the author and the people who put this work into it. So for me, I mean, the major thing is it's really disrespectful.
Yeah. And go, Sam, please.
It's tragically a problem that it will only go away once like the source of the issue is taken care of. Like once either Shonen Jump just goes all digital in Japan or they somehow crack down on the leaks. Because I think the thing that will always perpetuate it is just like as long as it can come out early, it will come out early and people will read it just because it's available and then that's what everyone's talking. Like once something trends on Twitter, it's like, oh, well, now I'm the person who's missing out because I'm waiting a day or whatever. And it's just, I don't know, just like the approach that I want to take these days is I want to contribute to, I want people to look forward to it on the official date. Like that's when I will talk about it. And I think even just sometimes like talking about spoilers or talking about the idea of spoilers like a few days ahead of the chapter can sometimes like kind of be a part of the problem. Like if we're always like, oh, I just got spoiled, or oh, why everyone's talking about the new chapter before it's out. Like if there's a way that we like as a community can kind of help the days leading up to the release just kind of stay quiet. I think we could create a scenario where people are more comfortable waiting.
I completely agree with you, but the other problem is the discussion that's happening. So this reader or this listener brings up the fact that it was trending on Twitter for 2 weeks, which would normally be something that we celebrate here. But even if we're quiet and we're silent about it, it would still have trended. Obviously, we are not the ones who did that.
Well, I mean, it's the people
and
reading that's kind of what I'm getting at, though. But like whether it trends or not is something that is just so
What's happenstantial?
Far outside
it's not,
of our control.
No, I know, and this person is saying, and I'm not, I don't want to point. I'm not trying to point fingers or make anyone feel shameful or about themselves. But at the same time, scan readers aren't like going out there and saying, yeah, let's promote the series. Let's hashtag One Piece and get it trending. Yeah, that's not what they're doing. They're just talking about it because it's out.
I disagree with the question asker on that front. Where
yeah.
Like I don't think you. It's just kind of a fan entitlement thing. Once it's like, oh well, we're fans. We help promote it. Therefore,
it's literally incidental.
On.
I mean, hashtags and trending and all of that stuff is literally incidental, with some very rare exceptions.
Well, it would be great if we could, if man, like that's like a thing that we almost will never get to. Like, I think it would be great if we could have it be trending on the official
Sunday
release, but like,
with
our circumstances, that might be a thing that literally never happens over the course of One Piece.
I don't know. I mean, fan subs have largely disappeared. I mean, they're there, but they're not anything like what they used to be, at least in 2009.
Yeah, I mean, but fan subs also offer almost nothing.
They're what the pirate streaming sites these days are just rips of Crunchyroll and Funimation.
They get them out faster. Like that's what the anime side has the benefit of, is that they can get them out faster than the fan subbers can.
The anime side has always been ahead of the manga side. So I don't want to say never, because I think the manga will get there eventually. Which I think lends the most credence to your point, Sam, that eventually I think this discussion will become less relevant. I hope. But until then, I think we also have, I mean, us as the podcast, at least, I think have some sort of, not duty, but some sort of responsibility to at least inform people that there is an official release, that it's free, and that it comes out the same time as it does in Japan, and that the illegal version, that the scanlation, comes out 2 days earlier than the official release. And if you went up to Oda on Friday or Wednesday, depending on the week, and said, hey, I just read your latest chapter, he'd be like, that doesn't come out for 2 more days. I just have one more anecdote concerning this point. And I don't know the artist, and I apologize, but I know there was an American artist, I think, or an international artist who had their work stolen by a scanlation site, who was then, asked them to take it off, that they were illegally stealing her web series, I think, and asked them to take it off. And they approached her, I know, and asked, hey, can we pay you now to run it? And I think she made the metaphor, it's like stealing your car and saying, hey, let's sell this together, after being caught doing it. And I think that's what, that's an important idea to keep in mind, that, okay, for Oda, I understand why people think that doesn't really put a dent in that, but there are a lot of people working for him, a lot of people working on the English side, a lot of people working on Manga Plus, that there's Steven, who deserve some compensation for the hard work they put in. I was telling my friend here who's here for the weekend, who does not a One Piece fan, does not listen. She was asking me about what I do and saying, oh, how long has the series been running? And I said, oh, it's been going for 22 years. And she said, every single week, this has been going on for 22 years. It's crazy to think. And Oda's been working on this since like 1993 or 1994 is when he first came up with this. This guy has been working on this series every single week for that time. And
since he was 19.
Since he was 19 or 17, when he was in high school.
Right.
He started One Piece specifically when he was 22.
But he'd been doing Romance Dawn and one-shots before that.
Right.
Yeah, and it's exactly what Maddie said. It's just really crappy to, not, all you have to do is wait less than 48 hours. It's like, it's not a big deal. And, I'm willing to risk getting spoiled to wait that 48 hours to say, okay, at least I'm helping people I respect.
You're part of the solution.
And I'm part of the solution. Yeah. And I understand wanting to be first. And that is something that we have dealt with as a podcast since we started. But at some point, you guys got to realize that the amount of harm you're doing is not worth the amount of good you think you're getting. Hey, I'll leave it there. Ed, it's time too.
Emails?
No, that was an email.
Oh, Reddit. We did those.
No, yeah, we did that. It's the one that you always do, the yelling one.
Oh yeah. Peace the tweet.
That's a cathartic piece of the tweet, Ed. What's going on?
Yeah, I made that with that Premiere title generator thing.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. Has anyone else seen that except for me here?
I've seen it.
Yeah, I need to.
It was really good. Yeah. Anyway, let's see. First one here comes from Spooky Ellie, who says, question for all. Imagine if One Piece was a team manga. Would Oda be the artist or the writer?
Like a duo,
Well, actually, here someone else also had a similar question. Sabati Arc says, I guess there was a discussion on the Discord about if Oda could only write One Piece, what manga artist do you think would best suit his story to work on it with him?
Ooh, that's tough. I feel like he is a.
Who's the fairy tale guy?
I mean, yeah, okay, I guess that would be a much less, Yeah,
he is a visual writer.
Yeah,
for me, the first thing that came to mind was Rumiko Takahashi, because I was like, well, she can do fighting and she can do funny, and so I was like, that'd be okay. Like, obviously, there's no one who can do what Oda does, but.
All right. Okay. Next one comes from.
Wait, I'd say one more. The FMA artist or author.
Hiromu Arakawa, yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. I think that would be a fun way to see One Piece. Maybe it's more of where I'm leaning with that. Anyway, go ahead, Ed.
All right, 91 Ryan says, how would you rank what we just saw in the chapter in order of importance? Or at least, what do you think is the most important thing that happened in this chapter?
Alabasta.
Most important, I think the one with the biggest ramifications is probably the stuff with Sword for me.
Well, that applies mostly to Wano. The Seven Warlords, I think, is going to be overall more important.
I say Sword because we've discussed this in the past. The idea of like that good arm of the Marines kind of taking over at the end. I think I think that's kind of the setup for that. We haven't really had that up to this point. We've had like kind of little hints, but there's a lot of we don't know. That's the problem.
All right, next one comes from Dark Leviathan. He just wants to know where Rebecca is. I kind of do too. She wasn't in this chapter. Anyway, Sniper of My Heart asks, do you think Kobe is going to merge Luffy fan clubs with Boa and maybe go to Wano after? I think it's more likely that they don't get along because I don't think she's going to share. She doesn't want to share with anybody. Anyone else?
I want to say it's also not lost on me that Kobe is once again going toe-to-toe with the most beautiful woman in the world.
Well, we'll see if he has any lust in his heart.
Yeah.
We'll see. Mute My Words says, do you guys think that was actually attached or was that CP0 agent just impersonating him? If so, what other joke characters made canon would you like to see get some form of spotlight? Well, we already got the carpenter. Like
that's true. Kind of his relative, I guess, right? Isn't that what it ended up being?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Panda Man to become an important character in the series.
Oh my god, maybe Panda Man's part of Cypher Pole. That would explain everything.
Let's see here. Next one comes from Wakui Tsubasa, who says, how much money would you say you have spent on One Piece and related merchandise?
I have a spreadsheet of this somewhere.
It's been a decade. Like, it's been a long time.
Yeah. On the what, like, having lived in Japan and you get point cards when you shop at the One Piece store, and so it tracks how much you spend, and it's like, God, I have so many of those cards filled out. It's and that's just like one thing. It's like that's separate from the tower, and that's separate from used goods, and it's separate from everything I bought on eBay and Ami, and it's like, oh.
So look, I know the answer to this question, but who here has spent the most money on One Piece merchandise?
I don't know who has the most figures, because I stopped buying figures like right shortly after we started the show. I bought a couple.
Well, guys,
or Sam, Steve.
Well, I just mostly have Sanjis. I have like, I have like 10, 12, 4. I don't. And then I have like a couple WCF sets, and then I have like Shanks and Crocodile. I don't have that many. Do the WCFs count as one? Because those are really small. Because I have like 30 of those.
Yeah, but those.
I am positive
those could get pretty pricey.
I don't know. I bought so many DVDs and manga volumes and books.
Oh wait, I know the answer to this question. The person who has spent the most money on One Piece stuff is 100% Kelly.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, she buys the what's it called? The really nice God, what the hell are they called? They're the one with Boa Hancock's coming out soon. The super detailed figures.
Oh, are those like the unofficial ones though, or are those official?
No, they're official now. I think they started out unofficial. They did like they were kind of the Crunchyroll of figures, but they did such a good job that I think they ended up going under the official banner. But they're like, oh, what the hell are the Tomei? Is that what it's called? Something like that. You know what I'm talking about, though. They're like $800 per figure. So, like, one of those right there. All right, what's next?
I will say this. I have a shelf that's dedicated mostly to my One Piece merch. I call it the Tower of Justice. And
Jesus Christ, Steve.
And I need more room.
I don't know. Now that I'm looking around this room, it might be me. Like, I have a lot of One Piece stuff, but it's a lot of stuff just on the walls. A lot of calendars.
I have the calendars as well, and I just pre-ordered the next one.
Yeah, me too.
I don't have a lot of figures, and the ones I do have don't have room to go anywhere.
The only figure I have is the Greg one. And the Zoro one I got on my first trip.
I mean, also need to put out there, I'm a huge nerd, so...
All right.
Which explains it. I'm not.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what it is.
You don't have any One Piece figures? Oh, well, you see, I'm not a nerd. Oh.
I'm sorry. My apologies. Yeah. Next one comes from Guest Lawton, who says, on the cover of Chapter 592, there is a tattoo of a sword on Akainu's right arm. Could he be the leader of Sword? And Drake was an agent the whole time. Kizaru, I guess Kizaru didn't get the memo in Shibari. So, yeah, he still gave Drake a beating.
I could definitely see him being like a member of Sword back in Yilden days.
Yeah.
I mean, is this a thing that was just formed, or is it like a thing that's always existed? There are a lot of questions here.
It seems like Sakazuki has issues with the world government, so maybe he's founded an organization that reports directly to him. Like,
yeah.
Him being in control.
That's a very good theory. I like that. What's next?
West the Fitting says, given what we know now about the poneglyphs, minks, and the increased relevance of the moon, are there any plans to write an update or a sequel to the One Piece connection? Are you waiting for more evidence to analyze?
Do you want to read my response to that? Because I did respond to that. Yeah. No,
I'm waiting for more time to spend on it. Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. The problem is just that took a lot of time. And also the problem now is too much information is coming too quickly. So like I'd have to like the second I wrote it, I feel like it would be out of date already. But I don't know. I want to do it. The passion's there.
So apologies to said Regina and P. Jensfeld. Greg, unfortunately, has left for this segment, so can't answer your questions this week. One question from Dr. Simadoku is, can you remember another One Piece chapter that teased such a drastic turn of events, such as the complications surrounding Sabo and Vivi, but also gave another big turn, such as the abolishment of the warlord system? You know, I don't know if this might be like the biggest tease One Piece chapter of all time. Like, there's nothing, like, it says big news, but we didn't actually get the news. We don't know what happened. We just know that there is big news, but we don't know what it is.
I don't think we've seen a tease. I don't think we've seen a tease like this since it was after the a Sabo Luffy flashback, and all the Straw Hats are reading the newspaper like, "Oh, what's Luffy doing?" Or
yeah.
Or, I don't know. Maybe an earlier one would be the Ace Blackbeard fight.
Yeah,
that was a big tease.
Oh God, yeah, that was. Yeah, we didn't know what happened with that for a very long time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And next one comes from our very own Brian Newton, Dark King Zoro on Twitter. It says, the world government has started to consolidate its power even more. Once 2 of the 4 emperors are gone, we'll be in the endgame. I'm guessing Sword will be the ultimate good marine faction for the final battle for One Piece.
Not if Sakazuki's involved.
I want Smoker to be involved. I don't know if that.
Yeah, I want Smoker to be the head of Sword. That is my secret hope. Personally.
And the last question, one last question comes from Necro Phoenix, who says, "Do you think the dissolution of the Warlords?" Sorry,
Warlords.
Lord of the Wars.
I'm sorry, it's what he typed. The Warlords will finally prove that Hancock is one of the more powerful pirates, or will Kobe be able to easily take her down? Like, I mean, he did get promoted, but
no,
I don't know.
Like, if it's one-on-one, no. I mean, I assume something else is gonna happen, but if it was one-on-one,
I mean, he'll be more powerful against her if he only has love for Luffy in his heart.
True. That's gonna do it for Piece Together. Why don't we round off?
All right, let's do it.
This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 587 for September 22nd. Thank you all so much for coming on, staying on this week. Steve, where could people find you?
Hey, you could follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Steve Yurko is the username. Please listen to me on other podcasts as well, like The Deep End and the Toon Suite. No, it's just Toon Suite. Just keep listening to that. And I don't know. I'll see you on the interwebs.
Bye, Steve.
Bye.
And Steve is running. And I also want to thank Robert for supporting us on Patreon. Robert, where could people find you?
I don't have to plug anything or anything like that, but I've got a Twitter that I'm hoping to use more than I have been. You can find that at the THE_FRITH. And I occasionally do streams on Twitch, so I'll post that on my Twitter if I'm doing that anytime soon.
Thanks. Really glad. Very good having you on. It was
absolutely. It was tons of fun.
Yeah, and good on you for listening from the beginning almost. So, yeah, and if you too want to join us on the One Piece Podcast, you could just support us on patreon.com/One Piece Podcast. It's one of the very high tiers. I forget which one off the top of my head. I think it's 100 for joining us for the entire show. The one below that, at 50, you could join us for some trivia, which we are not having this week because we spoke for hours and hours and hours.
Half the crew has had to leave already. It's gone on.
And everyone's left at this point. So I mean, Ed wins. Anyway, so you could contact Greg. He's at Ochimusha108. Please follow him there. He also writes columns for the official One Piece website at one-piece.com/special/Greg. And pick up a V-Jump if you read Japanese because he has a column in there as well. And Maddie, follow at That's Raspberry, or Maddie's Art Club on Patreon, where she's doing some cool stuff there. Now that I'm done plugging, Sam, where can people find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Lucky Chainsaw. They can find me on AnimeNewsNetwork.com doing the daily streaming reviews for One Piece and Black Clover. And they can find me on the One Piece Podcast every week doing the anime recaps.
And Ed, where could the good people find us?
Well, you're Zach_Logan on Twitter. I am Edward E. One Piece. I'm also at Weeb Trailers. You can check out the old trailers I post on Twitter. The podcast can be found at OnePiecePodcast.com, Twitter.com, YouTube.com, and Facebook.com/OnePiecePodcast. OnePiecePodcast@gmail.com is our email address. One Piece Podcast is the Skype name. Patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. Please support us there. You can subscribe on Spotify, subscribe on SoundCloud. Subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts, or call us on our phone number, Zach.
And that phone number is 347-497-MAJI.
Maji.
That phone number again is 347-497-6254. Call anytime. with your questions, comments, theories, or why Big Morgans is the king of the news. Thank you all for coming on.
He's the DJ of the news.
We did make some guest announcements, so here is who is coming next on the One Piece podcast. In addition to some of our Patreon supporters, we have God's Will next week joining us for a manga recap. We have the good folks from the My Hero Academia podcast on October 6th. On the 13th, we have Shannon Strucci returning. We have Alan Ortega returning on October 20th. And for the first time this year, believe it or not, Matt Cohen will be returning October 27th. Of course, that's all subject to change depending on what Oda decides to do.
Yeah, and I'm excited to have Godswill on. He just moved to Los Angeles.
Oh, he did? Cool.
Yeah,
is he still at Funimation?
No, he left.
I think, he left. He moved to LA, I guess. I'm not sure what he's doing now. We'll probably talk to him about it next week.
He's a great guy, and I'm looking forward to that. And for those again who haven't, please support us on Patreon. I'll say that one more time. And despite my ranting about how to read the official release or not, we do love every one of you listening today. We just want One Piece to be the most popular and continue to be the most amazing series ever. But until next week, everyone, my name is Zach.
My name is Ed.
And we'll see you next week, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.